Welcome to day 3 of the Back to School AI Summit 2025.
I am so excited to say we have over 3,000 registered attendees.
We have educators from 110 different countries joining us.
There are attendees from every state in these United States of America.
Teachers, leaders, and innovators will be joining us live and catching up with the recordings.
We have 37 presenters who will deliver insightful keynotes and workshops all week.
Congratulations on grabbing your seat for this online AI Summit for Education.
Let's get on with it. Here is your host, all the way from Newcastle in the northeast of England, Dan Fitzpatrick.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to day 3 of the Back to School AI Summit 2025. I was just in the chat there and seeing some familiar faces from the first 2 days of the summit. So thanks so much for returning. If you are returning for your 3rd day or your 2nd day, if you just joined us yesterday, thank you so much. Like I said earlier in the week, so difficult to know how to pitch a global event and what time to do with that. I was toying with kind of having 2 streams, like one at one time and one another time, and like kind of replaying it and everything. But yeah, we decided on a time. We can't please everyone. I know some of you have to shoot off to go teach. Some people won't be here now, but will be joining us very shortly, maybe at the end of their classes and so on. If you're just joining us today for the first time, you're very, very welcome. You can go and watch the recordings of the first 2 days on our page, which I will show you in just 1 second. We've got a really exciting day, next few hours lined up for you. If you're wondering who I am, maybe it's your first day here, maybe you've just stumbled across this. My name is Dan Fitzpatrick. I am the AI educator. I'm a best-selling author on artificial intelligence and education. I was a high school teacher for a number of years, moved into college education and work on strategy now, work with schools, colleges, universities, and businesses all around the world. I'm very lucky I get to work with some amazing businesses and governments, helping them to strategize around artificial intelligence. And I'm so glad that we can put this event on for you today and all of this week. You will have heard me talk about this for quite a bit if you've been with us for the last 2 days. But the Educators 2026 AI Guide is the accompanying book for this conference. It's a standalone book as well. You're looking at 200 pages of hundreds of educators from around the world sharing case studies, sharing their own advice, sharing stories. We've got chapters on ethics, in terms of bias, in terms of the environmental impacts. A lot of people want to talk about that. There's a chapter on that in here about tools, about implementation case studies. It's to be your companion through to the end of 2026. That's why we named it the Educators 2026 AI Guide. So a lot of our presenters are featured in the book as well. So please do check it out as a way to follow up on this conference. And you can go to the educatorsAIguide.com to check that out. If you've just stumbled across us, because I'm live streaming to LinkedIn and onto YouTube as well. So if you have just stumbled across us, please register. Now, the reason why I say that is because a couple of reasons. Whoever registers will be in with a chance of winning a copy of the book. So we've got 4 books to give away across all of this week. We've had our 2 winners so far for Monday and Tuesday, and you could be a winner today, but you must register before kind of the last 10 minutes of today's broadcast, because then we'll choose it in the last 10 minutes and announce who has won. So if you haven't registered, go over and do that. Also, you'll get updates, you'll get resources emailed to you, you'll be registered to the weekly newsletter that we put out, so you can have continuing updates and resources around artificial intelligence and education. As part of that, we release a daily podcast called AI for Educators Daily, where we have kind of 10-minute podcasts every day looking at case studies, looking at news, looking at tool developments. So if you want to stay on top of this, if you are an AI educator and you are wanting to keep informed, I know a lot of people listen to this on their way to work or on their way home from work every single day. Like I said, we've got the Sunday AI Educator newsletter that goes out every week, which has articles, has a summary of all the week's podcasts in there, has news, has tool developments and so on as well. So please do check that out. Like the intro video said, we have over 3,000 registered attendees who are joining us at some point across the 4 days. It might just be for certain sessions, might be for the whole thing. But last time I checked yesterday, we had about, I think it was 3,300 and something registered. A lot of them will be joining us on catch up, obviously, because a lot will be in school. We've got representatives from 110 countries, every US state, and 37 presenters across the 4 days, which is amazing, phenomenal that we can provide that value and the caliber of presenters that we have ready for you. Now, I want to give a shout out to our partners. Our partners are so special for us because very, very simple reason. They allow us to do this. So the weeks of preparation, months of preparation that have gone into this week, and then this week itself, have been supported by our partners. And if we didn't have them, we would have to charge for this, which I really don't want to do. I want this to be open and accessible to all educators around the world. So big thank you to Brisk Teaching, Everway, Grammarly, MagicSchool, Quizgecko, School AI, ThingLink, Toddle, Google for Education, ScreenPal, Seeds by Zaka, Snorkel, and we've also got joining us today, we've got 9, which I'm really excited about. I'll be introducing them to you very shortly, and we have got Vega AI, who I will be talking about very shortly. Like I said, we've got Monday's agenda with all of the talks recorded. We've got Tuesday's agenda with all of the talks recorded, ready for you in our arena area. If you don't know what that looks like, because you might have just stumbled across us, let me show you what that actually looks like. So
welcome to day 3 of the Back to School AI Summit 20.
I'll just pause that. It's playing back what I've just said to me. So this is what it looks like. So if you go to the AIeducator.io/B2S25, and I'll put a link in the chat in just a second, you will have access to today's recording, the schedule, and then you've got the chat there as well. Now, you can do all this in YouTube, but this is a nice place where you've got everything in one place. You go down there, you've got a social graphic you can share on social media. You've got a link to presenters' resources. You've got a link to the book that I've just mentioned. And you've also got the recordings and also what's coming up. And we've got 1 day left, which will be on Friday. Coming up today, I'm really excited. In about a minute's time, I will be introducing Stephen Johnson, who is a New York Times best-selling author on innovation and also the creator of a very popular tool, AI tool that a lot of educators use around the world called Notebook LM. He works for Google Labs. He's the editorial editor of Google Labs, and we're going to have a bit of a fireside chat with him. We got MagicSchool joining us. Andrew Davis is going to be taking us through how to gamify Magic Student for increased engagement. So looking forward to seeing some of the updates there. We've got Pravin Kaipa joining us from California. We've got Eleanor Parker joining us from England, talking about Quizgecko, an amazing tool for assessment. We've got Dr. Jennifer Chang Wathall, who is going to join us looking at AI-powered pedagogy. And she's got a book called The Same, which is a fantastic read. Mark Orchison from 9 will be joining us to talk about AI in schools from an ethical, secure way. That's what his company does. I think we've got a lot to learn from Mark this afternoon. Tony Vincent, if you are an educator in the US and probably further afield, Tony will be no stranger to you. He's a veteran in this area. Then we've got Vega AI, who are going to join us. And then we've got Laura Knight, who's going to finish the day for us, looking at talking through her talk, Wired for wisdom. So jam-packed afternoon for me, probably morning for some of you, and evening for some of you, but jam-packed few hours. Friday, we're going to have a day off tomorrow on Thursday. Then we'll be back on Friday for our final day with some absolutely phenomenal guests. All right, we're going to kick off with Stephen Johnson. Let me give Stephen an introduction. So Stephen Johnson is a New York Times best-selling author and editorial director at Google Labs, where he shapes the future of AI. He's a leading voice on innovation. He created Notebook LM, and he writes best-selling books like The Infernal Machine and Extra Life, revealing how groundbreaking ideas emerge and transform our lives. And I am going to line this up and hand over to the conversation that I had with Stephen. Thank you for joining us for this. I mean, it's a fireside chat. Everyone seems to call these types of conversations a fireside chat. There's no fireplace.
There's no fire. It's just it's all a lie, Dan.
We can pretend. So I really want to talk to you about innovation, really, because I know we've been chatting on and off for about the last year and a half, and it's been amazing to see the progress that you and your team at Google Labs have done with Notebook LM. But I know you've kind of been studying and exploring innovation, and especially kind of from a world level for quite a few years now. And obviously this technology brings about a need for innovation. In my experience, and I'm sure a lot of the educators who are watching right now's experience, is that education doesn't tend to innovate all that well. And here you are, you've created a tool that is amazing for educators. What's your thoughts on that? Are you, as someone who works with AI, as someone who has expertise on innovation, do you think this is it? We got to buckle up. We've got to innovate right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that. Well, first off, so great to be chatting with you, and thanks for all your support with Notebook LM over the years. Your guidance and tutorials have been great. So it's really special to be here. I think that in a sense, there are different roles in society for the way that we handle innovation, right? And it's not necessarily always a flaw when some systems are slower to adopt new changes. I think in many ways, one of the biggest challenges we have right now with AI, particularly over the last 3 years, is the pace of change has been so rapid that we haven't, as a society, had the usual time that we have to kind of like adjust and think about and explore what the new technology is good for and how it can be deployed properly and what the downsides are. Because by the time you've had that conversation, like there's already some new amazing thing that's come out. And so to the extent that there are places like, education that are a little bit more deliberate, maybe a little bit more change averse, I'm obviously not arguing for them to be completely change averse, but taking things cautiously, I think is not an unreasonable thing for that part of the world. I think you want to have kind of startup culture that moves quickly, and a place like Google Labs and Google itself that moves quickly and generates new ideas and new possibilities. And then if society takes a little bit of time to adopt them, that's fine. But I think the main point, in a way, like one of the reasons I came to one of the things that brought me to Google was I had written a piece about 3 years ago for the New York Times Magazine about, kind of these early language models. This is pre-ChatGPT, the spring of 2022. And the point I was trying to make in that piece is, yes, these, particularly back then, 3 years ago, they have problems. They're unreliable in some ways. There are a whole host of issues, but this is the real deal. Like, this is a serious transform. This is probably the most significant technological transformation of my increasingly long lifespan. And you cannot just dismiss it and say, oh, it's just, autocomplete on steroids or something like that. Like, this is a really transformative technology. And so to the extent that there's being cautious and thoughtful about how we adopt these things in the education sector, fantastic. But if it's burying your head in the sands and pretending it's not happening, or pretending it's only just going to be a problem, and not seeing the potential upside and possibility, I think that would be an even bigger mistake.
Yeah, I do want to get to the more practical side of innovation, but I can't help, as somebody who watches a lot of YouTube and listens to a lot of podcasts, we find a lot of people who who used to work at Google on AI now out there doing kind of the press rounds, talking about that. I mean, this isn't just going to be something that's going to be the most disruptive thing in your life, but they're claiming it's going to be the most disruptive thing in anybody's ever's life, and putting out some pretty hard messages there that actually the rate of change and the rate of progress of AI is going to be staggering in just the next, let's say, 5 years from some of these guys. What I mean, is that in your experience of working in I suppose Google's lab, Google Lab, is that resonating with you, or do you think some of these guys are kind of overstirring it a bit?
I think we genuinely don't know what the continued rate of progress is going to be. It has been pretty exceptional. If you think about, if you looked at where the language models were in early 2021, they were effectively useless. Like, you could get them to like string some sentences together, and don't even talk about like generating images and videos and all that kind of stuff. And so the fact that we are at the point where you can put hundreds and hundreds of pages of text into Notebook LM and ask these very sophisticated questions that get grounded answers with citations, all these things just would seem miraculous if we just rewound the tape like 3 years. So that's been quite a run. What happens from here is an open question. We don't really know what the underlying arc is going to be. There's a big debate about it, right? There's some people who think it's slowing down. Some people think it's actually accelerating. I think, though, that there are inevitably like going to be kind of cultural breaks, like even if the models continue to progress as dramatically as they have over the last few years, like technology has to disseminate through society. Innovations have to disseminate through society. And that means people need to think about how they get brought into existing workflows. In the case of the classroom, how they get integrated into the classroom, and what tools are built on top of them. It's not just like people are just using a chatbot. They're going to need to build new kinds of software. That's what we tried to do with Notebook LM. And so those processes, are again, kind of like what I was saying before, like slow in a good way. They give us time to kind of like work through these things. And so I am skeptical of the scenarios where there's just a radical transformation of like the workforce in the 5-year time frame. And if there are some kind of cultural breaks, adoption breaks, dissemination breaks that kick in there, even if the underlying models like continue their progress, I think most of us are all for that. Like that would be fine. It gives us time to figure out how to deploy these things thoughtfully.
Nice. And I suppose as being part of Google Labs and as an organization that is well known around the world for its innovation, I suppose what could education learn from what you guys do and how you guys innovate? Is there some kind of special source that you guys use? Is there like when you get together with the team and think, right, how do we iterate on something like LM? How do you guys do that? And I suppose could educators out there learn something from that?
Yeah, it's a great place to work. And you do feel like you're right at the center of some of the most important tech that's out there right now. So it's been an interesting career move for me. I've spent most of my life as a writer to suddenly find myself, as my father likes to say, with a real job at the age of 55. But I think, there are a couple of like fundamental values that we've tried to develop at Google Labs, and Josh Woodward, who now runs it, is a big advocate for these things. One of them is this idea of kind of co-creating. So my involvement is a great example of this, actually, because early on they were like, well, what if we actually invited a writer and a researcher to come into the kind of early stage incubation process for a writing and research tool, and instead of just doing some user research and talking to people, but mostly have it be developed by technologists inside, let's have someone from a different perspective come in and be involved in the process. And we've since done that with musicians and with filmmakers and a whole host of other kind of creative professionals, but not just creative professionals. And so that kind of like, it's kind of a cross-disciplinary way of thinking. that it's useful to have folks with different kinds of expertise collaborating on a process, on a product. So that's been really important. It's also, we've tried to, the kind of value that we've tried to have, and I think this is not a bad mantra for educators as well, is to try and invent things, but also adopt things that are in this kind of sweet spot of the kind of newly magical and the actually useful. So like the Venn diagram, like intersection of those two like circles, right? So it's like, yes, you couldn't do this 2 years ago and it's so magical, but it actually does something useful, right? So like audio overviews, our AI podcast, it was our big hit last year. You know, that was one of those things like you'd never heard an AI conversation like that. Just like the voice models were so good that when you first hear it, you're like, I can't believe that's not a human being in conversation with another human being. But it was also like really helpful. Like it was really helpful to like upload your reading for the week and to review it by listening to an engaging podcast while you were like at the gym or driving to school. I still trying to hit that sweet spot between, you know, new things and actual utility, I think is a big value that's important for us.
I think that's what, for Notebook LM, that's what I think stands out the most when I ever talk to educators about it, and I do quite regularly. It's the interactive button now on the audio overview where you can then interrupt and have a conversation with it. Because I find a lot of this new technology is almost like it's a technology in search of a use case. Yeah. And it's kind of like, so it's got that shininess. You might try it out once or twice, but then you leave it, you never go back to it. And I like how you've kind of put that into that platform that I think is now the go-to for anyone's AI workflow, really, for when they're starting that process.
I mean, there are a couple of things I would say there, Dan, actually. One thing that I love about interactive mode is that early on when we first had it, I put in one of my books as the sources. This book called The Invention of Air, and generated a podcast based on it, an audio overview based on it, and let them talk about it for a while. And then I called into the show using interactive mode, and I said, hey, this is actually Stephen Johnson, the author of the book you're discussing. And they were amazing. They were like, oh my gosh, Mr. Johnson, what an honor to have you here. It's adorable. But I think, you know, I think another example of this, it's a very subtle thing, but it's incredibly highly used. It's arguably the most used feature at Notebook LM are the citations that we have in the model's answers. So we still, to this day, I mean, we've had this forever, but like, I still think we're state of the art on how these work. So the model gives you an answer. All the answers are grounded in the facts and your sources. There's a little footnote-like citation. And that citation doesn't just refer to the text that it came from. It refers to the specific passage that it came from. So you can go back to the original text. And that took some amazing like underlying magic from Google DeepMind and the Gemini model to be able to make that possible. And then it took like a user interface that would let you read your sources and click on those citations in the same space. But once you get a taste of that and that feeling of like, oh, here I've got this complex text that I'm trying to understand, and I can jump directly to the relevant passage from any chat experience surface. It's just so valuable. It's like a new way of reading in a way. And again, it's that zone of like, it's kind of magic, but it's also really useful.
Yeah, and I think you probably hit upon something there, which is also really important to educators, and that is, I suppose, the verification of information and the critical thinking that kind of goes hand in hand with that. And I think one of the things that worries educators so much about artificial intelligence, and I suppose it's an extension of what's going on in the world around us as well, politically and through social media as well for the past 2 decades, is how do we determine what's true, what's not true, what's good information, what's bad information. And I think there's a lot of people who think, well, actually AI is exasperating that rather than help cure it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's one of the things I've tried to explain a lot in talking about Notebook LM, but this is increasingly true of, you know, Gemini. You can ground Gemini on documents that you select as well, and other models let you do this as well. So it's become more mainstream. When you have a source grounded AI experience, like you've defined what the source of truth is effectively, and you've instructed the model to stick to those facts, it turns out that AI is actually, it can be used in the service of factuality and truth, right? I mean, Notebook is an amazing fact-checking tool. Like, I don't think people realize it's enough, but if you're a journalist, for instance, using it and you're kind of trying to review your piece and make sure it's accurate, you can just take each paragraph, load up all your sources in the notebook, take each paragraph in and say, fact check this and suggest any questions and show me, any potential problems that you see based on this source material. And so, like, you don't have to hire a fact checker to do that. Now, all of a sudden, the AI can do that for you. But you have to set up the software correctly. You have to use it in the right way. You have to have software like Notebook designed to work with sources and not just work on kind of general knowledge. But if you do that right, it can be in the service of truth rather than in the service of error.
Yeah, I always say to educators that you've got to bring the good stuff first for this to actually work with you, and I think a lot of educators appreciate that. They appreciate that actually their professional understanding is the first step in that journey.
Well, one of the things when I taught on and off at various different points in my life, and the thing, including when I was in grad school, and then once I kind of started a career as a writer, and the thing I always loved. I loved a bunch of things about it, but maybe my favorite thing was designing a syllabus for the class, right? So there's that kind of magic of curating the body of knowledge that you need to convey to your students and your goals for your students. What is the best thing for them to read, and what's the best sequence here to get them into these ideas? How do we shape this learning journey so that it'll be really powerful for them and engaging for them? And that's a lot of what it is kind of essential to an experience like Notebook LM. It's you curate the sources. If you're curating the sources, say in a classroom, and giving them to your students in the form of a notebook, which is now much easier to do as of yesterday with the classroom Notebook LM integration that we just announced. So you're kind of curating this knowledge base, and in the past that was just about okay, this is what you need to read, and then I'll give you, we'll have some seminars or a lecture explaining how what this material means, or why it's relevant, or how it connects with other things that you've read. And you can still do that, but you can also do these other things, right? You can create flashcards and quizzes and audio overviews and video overviews, and you're kind of crafting this open-ended space of knowledge that can be explored by the student in whatever direction that they want to explore it. And that that's a kind of art form in a way, right? Intellectually, that curational work is so important. And I think the notebook structure actually lets you do that in a way that is super exciting. I have all these ideas for now that we have these kind of featured and public notebooks that we curate ourselves and we put on the site. I have all these ideas for they're almost like the way I would have thought of writing a magazine article in the past. Now I'm no, I want to build a notebook for this.
Yeah.
And I'll write some things. I'll find some relevant articles. I'll generate some artifacts in the studio panel, and I'll just release it into the world as a way of sharing my excitement about something from history or some intellectual idea. So there's a lot of interesting new stuff that is happening, I think, in terms of how we distribute knowledge in this kind of platform.
And I think it kind of gives the teacher a bit more freedom, because I think, how time poor teachers are, and they might just have to stick to a course book because that's the materials at hand. They haven't got time to go off and do some kind of deep research project. But actually, but now they kind of do. They can go off and find some cool articles, some interesting videos, because then when they collate it, they've got something like Notebook LM that will help them make sense of it, help them form a structure and so on, which I think is, and it's great to see teachers doing that actually. I think there's a lot of AI tools I noticed that are almost giving teachers a bit more freedom to bring content that wouldn't traditionally come into the classroom, because then the AI helps make it more accessible to the students.
So this is exactly the way that I think about it in terms of my own work as a writer and researcher, which I don't have a lot of time for these days because Notebook is taking up all my thinking. But there are all these things that you have to do. So a lot of my books have been nonfiction history books, right? And a lot of research. And I always like to write these books that have very complicated timelines and chronologies and multiple characters. And it's really hard to keep it straight in your head, like the sequence of events. And so I used to spend a huge amount of time just manually building out the timeline of like, okay, what actually happened? Okay, this happened first. And that's synthesizing information scattered across like hundreds of newspaper articles and journal entries and things like that. And it's one of these places, like we added this like report feature called Timeline, and it literally is 1,000 times faster than, if not more, than the old way of doing it. Like I load up the sources and I hit Timeline, and it just goes through and finds every event that is pegged to a date and organizes it chronologically.
Now I know why that's in there, because I, like, whenever I demo the Notebook LM, I'm like, I think most of the examples I show, it's not really relevant to timeline. History teachers love it, and I always think quite an odd feature to put in there that's only relevant to a certain group of people.
No. You're hitting on something. Well, Dan, the truth is, like, as of like yesterday, we're rolling out suggested formats now, which is really cool. So it looks at your sources and figures out what you want. And we took Timeline off the default set. For precisely that reason, because like 80% of the time it was not relevant at all. Like you didn't have chronological information and things. And so, but it will be likely to suggest a chronological overview if there's dates in your sources from now on. But yes, it was a little bit of like my special feature in there.
And I love that, you know, how you said, I just want to create a notebook to share with people. I love my favorite way to use Notebook LM at the moment is, and again, I think it's one of the things that AI has brought to us that we just couldn't even really imagine beforehand and it sounds really strange, but I like to almost collect people's brains. Right? So if there's somebody who I'm a big fan of, I love their work, love their writing, they do podcast interviews, I obsess over collecting content around that person. And I create, like, there's a guy called Daniel Priestley who writes business books here in the UK. And I've got a Daniel Priestley notebook, and he puts his books out as open source online, and he does it, lots of interviews. So put them all in there, and then when I've got an idea for like a business idea, and I'm thinking, I wonder what Daniel Priestley would say about this, I literally go into Notebook and chat with it, and I pretty much know that because it's all based on his content, that is probably what he'd say if I had a consultation meeting with him, and that blows my mind that anyone can do that around any expertise, any speciality they want.
I think that's really well put, Dan, and it's something we're kind of actively thinking about because, you know, there's an interesting business model there. Like, I mean, it's lovely when you have somebody who's just giving away their material open source style, but in a sense, like, it creates a possibility that you can imagine for a marketplace for expertise that would bundle that expertise in a slightly different way than the way that we bundle it now. Like right now, if you want a specific expert to like help you think through a problem, you can like hire them as a consultant and bring them in and ask them questions directly, but that's expensive and hard to do most of the time. You could like listen to their TED talk and in your mind apply their thinking to what you're doing, or you could read their book and do the same. But with Notebook, you get something that's like halfway between the consultant version and the reading the book version. Like you could imagine a future where you would buy the expertise from someone and then just have it on tap in whatever notebook you were working on, or you could add it to a notebook that was devoted to some other problem, and just be able to kind of like throw a little sidelong question to, you know, Priestley or whoever else, and say, what do you think of this idea? Or like any thoughts on how this could be made better? And you would get their kind of knowledge, and it gives them another way of supporting their business of being an expert on a topic. So yeah, we're super interested in that line of inquiry, as you can tell from the way I'm talking about it.
Yeah, I do know there are. I've got a friend who has a platform where she pretty much does the same thing. I think she's had it for a couple of years now. It's like a virtual coaching website. But there's so much. I mean, even just like instead of bookmarking things, I often say to teachers, like, if you're like me, I love reading things on innovation, on leadership, and I'd always just traditionally bookmark or save it to a YouTube list. Never get around to coming back to it. Now I have a Notebook LM that's just labeled leadership, a Notebook LM that's labeled innovation. So when I do come across that content, instead of bookmarking it, I put it in my Notebook LM, and then when I do get a free 20 minutes a week later, I'll have a chat with it, knowing that that's being fed into the overall expertise of that notebook.
The other thing that you can't really do now natively, which is kind of annoying, is Notebook doesn't really know when you've added, the AI doesn't know when you've added sources We just don't pass that information to the model because we have so many things to do. We haven't gotten around that. But you could imagine the ideal thing would be like, okay, I've been throwing things in to this notebook for the last couple of weeks. Generate an audio overview that gives me an overview of like the last 2 weeks worth of stuff I've added to this notebook. And it would just, you could do that kind of manually by like retitling things or something like that. But you could imagine, a future version where it just knows like this is the most recent stuff you've added to this notebook, and I'll spin up a video overview or an audio overview to help you like review it or just discover what was in there if you haven't actually read it in the first place. So yeah, I think that's a great way to use it. By the way, I'm glad to hear you're organized.
Yeah, well, it's just figuring out what's going to be best for people to get. Like you said before, like it's AI that serves a purpose and actually has a useful application. Okay. And I think sometimes with the AI, you've got to bring that creativity. And in fact, especially when you're using something like Gemini or ChatGPT, and it's just a blank conversation, you have to bring all the creativity to start with. And that fascinates me because I think a lot of AI tools, NotebookLM included, is almost an empty vessel waiting for us to fill it, to start to get it going, and therefore it has to come from us. And in that way, it's probably unlike any technology we've ever used, because it's not like a software saying, right, we do this for you, 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 and here's all the functionality, here's how to click the buttons to get what you need out of it. You've actually got to bring the starting point with you, which is what fascinates me.
Yeah, I mean, I know you've done a bunch of NotebookLM demos, but I'm pretty sure I have done the most NotebookLM demos of any person on the planet. And the thing that always happens when I do them is I show a bunch of things that it can do, and then we switch to the Q&A mode, and somebody says, "Could it do X?" And my response will be like, "I don't know. Let's try."
Yeah.
Like so many times you're like, "I think it'll actually be pretty good at this, but let's give it a whirl and see." And that, I think that, if you think about the mindset of an AI educator that, you're trying to cultivate, it's that kind of level of curiosity. Like, let's see, like, what if I set this up this way? Like, do I get a good answer here? Is this helpful or is it not yet helpful? And just being willing to experiment rather than just being told this is how you use the product. Because they're so open-ended in their capabilities. I'm constantly, I just did something yesterday that I'd never done before. It's partially enabled by this new reports feature that we're upgrading, that we upgraded yesterday. So I'm researching a book potentially about the gold rush, the original California gold rush. And there's a public domain work written in like the 1860s about some events that happened there around the Yosemite Valley and the Native American culture there. And it's got amazing stories in there, but it's very hard to read. It's the guy who wrote it was not much of a writer. He actually participated in the events, and there are a million digressions and all that kind of stuff. And so, but I want to read the whole thing because I'm potentially writing a book about this. So I read the whole book. I highlighted passages that seemed like interesting to me, and particularly passages that involved events that I think I might want to write about. And then I created two sources in Notebook. I took the full text of the book because it's public domain. I can put the full text of the book in there. And then I put a separate source that was just my highlights. And I created a custom report, we've just made the ability to create custom reports, which is very powerful. And I said, go through and create a detailed, in a sense, timeline of all the events that happen in this book, but focus on the ones that I highlight in my notes. And if it takes a little bit to explain how event A led to event B, even if I didn't highlight the middle period, explain what happened between those events. And it created like a 6-page kind of précis of like the core events that were most interesting to me. That is now an incredibly valuable document for me, because there's like the highlights on their own were kind of confusing and scattered. The original text on its own is dense, and I don't want to have to reread it every time. But boy, that like 5-page condensation of all that, that's curated based around like what was interesting to me and important to me, but based on the original work. Like, and it never even occurred to me that I could do that until like 2 or 3 days ago. And I was like, I wonder if I did that, how would that work? And it was just like A+ out of the gate. So. Even those of us who've been sitting like thinking about nothing but NotebookLM for 3 years, we're still discovering new things you can do with it.
No, I love that. And I love the fact that a lot of language models are like that. Like you, like I say this sometimes to teachers, you're not working at these labs, so therefore you haven't tested it. only the people who work there have tested it, so they know what it's capable of out of their experience, but they don't know what you don't know what it's capable of using your experience. So I love that it's kind of like it's such an adventure like that. And we're going to have to wrap things up, but I love the fact that the conversation kept being grounded in that collaboration between artificial intelligence and humanity. And I love that the fact that you've made a tool that it's not just right, humans click a button and go, right, do this for me, and there it is. It's that back and forth. It's us helping the AI to kind of get things right, and then cyclical, the AI helping us understand, and then that journey with it. So thanks so much for sharing that with us. Everybody on this call, I'm sure who's watching at the conference right now will be familiar with NotebookLM, and they'll be rushing to check out the new reports feature, I'm sure. So thanks for sharing that with us.
Super fun, Dan. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. Okay, I hope you really enjoyed that. We recorded that a couple of days ago because obviously Stephen has a busy schedule, and I loved having that conversation with him. Right, we're going to jump into our next presenter, going from one tool that is loved by all over the world by educators to another tool that is loved all over the world by educators. Next, we're going to be exploring MagicSchool, and I'm really excited to bring on Andrew Davies from MagicSchool. Andrew is a digital learning coach who empowers educators in their use of popular AI tools for teachers. And it's great to have him. Let's bring Andrew in. Andrew, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Dan? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to see you. I've noticed you around and on social media, so it's great to connect face to face. What I'll do is I'll pull myself out. I'll bring your screen in, and then really looking forward to it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, I'm ready. All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrew Davies. I am the social media manager at MagicSchool. I'm a former educator, so I taught for 12 years in public education. I was a 5th grade and 4th grade teacher, and then I became a digital learning coach where I got to train and teach teachers how to use technology effectively with their students. And today, my focus on what we're going to be talking about with MagicSchool is student engagement, right? Like, how can we use and harness AI to engage our students? These are students who are, I've seen my own kids from time to time with, 2-3 different devices going on all at once, right? They're so inundated with different things. How can we keep those kids' attention in the classroom? And so my presentation is called 5 Ways to Gamify Magic Student. But of course, before we jump in, I got to just explain what is Magic Student. Now, there's a good chance, click the right button here. There we go. There we go. There's a good chance that you've heard of MagicSchool. We are the leading platform for educators. We have over 6 million users worldwide. But what we've found is a lot of teachers, are still diving in, learning how to use the tools for themselves and collaborate with this AI. But maybe you're not familiar with Magic Student. So Magic Student is our student-facing platform that basically allows teachers to hand select different AI tools for their students to use for maybe a different activity, maybe for an entire class period, or maybe for the entire school year. We have many teachers using student rooms, as we call them, for accommodation purposes, right? Where students have certain tools they need to access throughout the year, like sentence starters or a translation tool. But basically, teachers can hand select those tools and create what's called a student room, where then the students, and you can see in the background here of this slide, what a student room might look like. So this particular room is a writing a persuasive essay room, where the students had to write an essay about cell phone use in schools. So for this particular room, we gave students access to 4 different tools. The first one, which is actually a debate partner, where the student gets to debate with the AI before they actually go and write their paper. They get to debate whether or not they believe cell phones should be in schools. Then we also had the research bot in there as well, where students can go and get valuable research to use in their papers or find reliable sources quickly. And then we have the writing feedback tool in there, where students can actually upload their rough draft and get glows, grows, areas for improvement. And they can also even get an overall score based on a rubric on their paper as it currently stands in that rough draft form. And then they can take their final copy and submit it to the final copy writing feedback chatbot, which I pre-programmed or customized to only allow students to give one submission. So if they submit their final copy, that is their only submission that the chatbot will allow. Now, all these things, the way I customize this is something I'm going to go over here in this presentation, but I just want to give you a quick overview. Then when the student room is ready, the teacher can share that room with students with a URL code or URL link, a QR code, or through Google Classroom. There's no login required necessarily, and all this can be done for free. Now, I do want to also mention that if students are using Magic Student, one of the best parts about it, especially as a former educator, is the fact that you can moderate and watch the entire thing unfold. You can see every conversation that the student is having with every individual chatbot. You can see exactly, sorry, 1 second, making sure my timer's going. There we go. You can see exactly if a student gets off task, maybe they're disengaged, it will give you those flags. So you as a teacher can go have that conversation with the student and figure out what exactly is going on. But then the teacher can also go in and get full class insights as well, like how engaged are the students, how are they performing? Really powerful tool that is safe and a great way for students to build their own AI literacy skills. Now, the point of my conversation today, like I said, is student engagement and how can we use this tool to boost that in the classroom, and specifically how to gamify Magic Student. Now, Stephen, who was on before me, I got to watch the tail end, and this is a great segue. He was talking about, experimenting with AI and what are some different ways that we can utilize these tools. And that's what I'm all about. When I was a teacher, I was the teacher who asked for forgiveness later, oftentimes, where I just wanted to try all the new things. I wanted to find ways to push the boundaries, push the limits to really keep my students excited and engaged. And so that's kind of my direction today with Magic Student. Now, if you're getting started with Magic Student, we have tools that are already designed that can be used and are incredibly engaging as they are standalone tools that require very little customization. So for example, I already mentioned the debate partner, extremely engaging for really any topic. You can have students debate any type of subject, which, students love, what student doesn't love to argue a little bit here and there. And then you have, I also love the role play chatbot. This one of my favorite ways to use it, kind of that's a little bit maybe different, is to have the AI take on the role of a struggling student. So maybe you're teaching students how to use maybe add, subtract fractions with unlike denominators. You could set the role play bot to be a student who struggles with solving those types of math problems. And then the student takes on the role of, okay, I'm going to help tutor the AI chatbot on how to solve these problems. So kind of just changes up, makes it a little bit more interesting, maybe not necessarily gamified in the traditional sense, but definitely more engaging than just typical conversation. Now, what I'm going to focus mostly on, we have lots of tools for students to use, and eventually I'm going to jump into the platform and show you all this. I'm going to focus on the custom chatbot because I feel like it's the most versatile. I feel like this is the tool that you can use to really create any kind of experience for your students. My favorite way to use it is to turn it into scenario-based activities, which I'll show you here in a moment. But you can really give students those opportunities that they would never otherwise have in the classroom. And so let me show you a couple of those ideas. And so, and by the way, and you'll see on each slide, as I go through these ideas, there's going to be links throughout. I'm going to share the presentation at the end where you can actually go click. You'll be able to add these activities to MagicSchool, to your dashboard, so you could use them today if you'd like to. And then in the bottom corner, there'll be links to actual video tutorials on how to build out each of these. We're going to build one together at the very end. But I just want to give you some quick inspiration on some ideas that I've tried and found students to absolutely love. So this first one is called Chain Stories. Now, when I was a 4th grade, 5th grade student, I remember one of my favorite writing activities, because I didn't like writing at all, but one of my favorite things to do were chain stories, where one student would start a story based on a topic. And then what we would do is we'd write for like 5 minutes, maybe write a paragraph, and then we'd pass our paper. And then I would take my partner's paper and I'd continue his story, and you continue and continue. And then at the end, you read these stories out. Sometimes they're crazy, ridiculous. Sometimes they're really good. There's a fun way to get students writing, right? Getting to write more and think creatively. And you can do this with AI. So I set up a custom chatbot to do exactly that. It starts the conversation with a student saying, would you like to start the story or would you like me to start the story? And then they have that back and forth writing together where the AI writes a little bit, the student continues, then the AI writes a little bit, the student continues, and they can take that final paper and they can share it. They can copy and paste it into a Google Doc and then maybe share it, read it as a class. Now to gamify this, if you want to turn this into an actual game, in that same chatbot, you can upload a rubric with a point system. You could say, ask in the instructions of the chatbot to give certain number of points to students for using maybe a certain number of figurative language, or maybe if they're using new vocabulary words that you've just introduced, or maybe like, for example, it could be a math writing assignment, right? Where you want them to use certain math vocabulary. So you could turn this into a game where then students are trying to get scores from the chatbot. It's a really fun one. It's a really easy one to set up. The next one is Shark Tank. So if you're familiar with the popular show where, people come in, they present to a panel of what they're called sharks, which are investors. And then, the sharks decide if they're going to invest in their company or innovation. So same idea here. You can set up a student room with one shark or multiple sharks that the student then submits or uploads let's say they're writing a persuasive essay. They upload it to the shark, and then the shark will decide if they want to invest in that student's idea or innovation based on the rubric. And instead of giving the students a score to gamify this, make this more interesting, you could have the shark give them a scenario. Like maybe based on their presentation, the shark invested, this company became this successful, they earned this much money in investment, so on and so forth. Really, the limits are endless on what you could turn it into. But then if you want to gamify this even more, you could take that, whatever the student gets from that shark experience, have another chatbot in the same student room that could act as a scenario-based chatbot where the student actually has to run this business that they've just innovated or created. And then you could set up the same kind of experience where maybe the chatbot gives scenarios to the student and they have to respond. Like, what would they do if, all of a sudden an investor backed out or what have you? So you can turn this into a pretty cool interactive experience as well. Next, murder mystery games. Now, this one, I will say that this is probably the most involved of the different activities I'm going to show you. This one's the most advanced. Okay. So I do have a video tutorial on how to do this one. This one would take the whole time to show you how to make it. It does take a little while, but it is really, really neat when it's done. Basically what you're doing is you're setting up a bunch of chatbots, custom chatbots in your student room that act as different guests of a dinner party. Now, you have to set up a story, a universal story that all these chatbots are referencing. So what I did is I went in, I had our chatbot Raina write this story with the 5 different characters. Each character had an alibi, except for the one that was the murderer. And then what I did is I uploaded that story to each chatbot. So that was the chatbot's knowledge, that's reference. And so the students would go in, they interview interrogate each of the dinner guests, and they're having to take notes, think critically, and figure out which of these dinner guests had conflicting stories, and they have to figure out who the murderer was. Now, obviously, you wouldn't use this in a kindergarten classroom, right? You have to think critically about who you're using this type of activity with, but you can change it up. You could make this, instead of a murder mystery, it could be mystery of the stolen cookie. It could be something involving social stories, where maybe students they're having to figure out, why one student was wronged, and they kind of go through that situation. Or you could even make it into a math-based activity where students are trying to decode different codes, more of like an escape room. Like I said, really involved, takes a while to set up, but really worth it. And you can always save it once it's set up, so you can reuse it over and over again. All right, I got 2 more for you. Then we're going to jump in so I can show you exactly what this looks like. All right, the review arcade. I'm a big gamer. I grew up a big gamer. I'm dating myself here. Loved Oregon Trail in school. I lived for Oregon Trail time. Basically what I did here, and it looks super complicated, but I promise you this is not difficult to set up. I am not an expert coder. I set up different games in this arcade where students could go in, they could tell the Oregon Trail, they could tell Edumon, which is our version of my version of Pokemon, and you could tell Dungeons and Dragons what your topic is, what you're working on, and then it will play that game with you, that turn-based style game, while focusing on that topic. Now, all text-based at this point, right? So that it's just this so it involves a lot of reading, right? If you want to get your kids reading, have them play these games. It's tons of reading. And I guarantee you they will be much more interested in this than reading the next Curious George book. No offense to Curious George, love Curious George. But this is something that might be a little bit more engaging to them. Like I said, I've got all the videos here to show you how to create these as well. And the last one, and this is the one we're actually going to build together, is the Choose Your Own Adventure. Now, I know I can't see you all, but I'm guessing if I had you show of hands, anyone in here that is close to my age grew up reading Goosebumps books. My favorite books of all time were the Goosebumps books where you had to choose the path that you took, right? So you're reading the page and it says, ooh, if you go into the dark cave, go to this page. If you go to, if you run away, go to this page. Best books ever. So you can create those experiences with our custom chatbots. And so you can have it be based on any topic. Just like I said before, it can be about math. It can be about science. But students are getting to go through an adventure while learning or reviewing those topics. So I'm going to actually jump into the platform and we're going to look at this together. Now, before I do, because we're going to build this Choose Your Own Adventure, I want to just kind of give you a tip. Like I said, I am not a prompting expert. I do my best. But Raina, our custom chatbot, who's like our instructional coach, Raina is really good at prompting. And so I like to open a second tab as I'm creating anything that's a little bit more outside the box and I want some really detailed prompts. I open a second tab and have Raina kind of help me build those prompts. And that's what I'm going to do here in a moment. Now, what does that flow look like? So when I'm talking to Raina, now I know there's good prompting practices where you give the chatbot a role, you give explicit instructions. When I'm doing this kind of work, I like to kind of have more of a flow to it and go back and forth with Raina like a conversation. So this is kind of what that flow looks like. So when I'm talking to Raina, I like to turn on so we can change the model, right? So to smartest to make Raina think a little bit deeper. And so I say, I would like your help building a chatbot that is gamified. Can we walk through some different types that we could, or different ways we could do this? Raina then gives me some ideas. I pick one I like. I said, I like this idea. And I said, what kind of game could we create where the chatbot helps students learn about animal adaptations, for example? Raina gives me some ideas. I pick one of those ideas and say, okay, I love this. Can you help me build the initial instructions for the custom chatbot to set this up? And then Raina is going to help me do that. So I'm going to show you that here as I go to the platform. So give me 1 second here. I know I have to share different tabs. There we go. So here is MagicSchool's main teacher dashboard. If you've never seen it, welcome. You can access all of this for free. Don't do it now, but you can do it after the presentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to Magic Student, and I'm going to go to Student Tools. Check my time here. Okay. I'm going to go to Student Tools. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find, so you can see there's several tools here to choose from. I'm going to choose the custom chatbot. And if you can't find it quickly, you can always search up at the top. Get this pulled up here. And this is the beauty of live demos, everybody. We're going to see how quickly this will go. All right. So here we have, let me just minimize my other screen here. Okay. So here we have our instructions, right? So I'm going to be filling out this side here. And then on the right, this is where we're going to be able to preview the tool when it's done. So here, I'm just going to name this really quickly. The Choose Your Own Adventure Animal Adaptations. Okay. I'm going to leave the description alone for now, just because for time. I'm going to choose 5th grade because 5th grade was my favorite grade to teach. I love 5th grade, so I go up to it often. And then this right here, instructions for the chatbot, the meat and potatoes here, the most important part, how we're going to tell the chatbot exactly what we want it to do. Now I'm going to show you, this is probably where you might start. Okay. I'm going to say create. There we go. Promise I won't type in front of you very often. All right. So we're going to create a choose your own adventure experience for students to learn about animal adaptations. Very, very basic prompt. Okay. You're not going to get a great output because it's not really giving the AI much to base it off of. Now we do have this built-in prompt assistant, which is really handy. If I click that, it actually opens this panel and it rewrites the prompt for you to kind of teach you how a stronger prompt might look. So down here, it tells you what was changed. So you're learning a little bit more, building your own AI literacy there. And I'm going to accept this prompt. It's pretty good. It includes scenarios where students can make choices that affect the outcome of their learning journey. Love that. I'm going to pull that in. Now, I could stop there. I could test this out, see what I like, see how it operates. But what I've found when I'm making these choose your own adventures, I want them to be a little bit more detailed. And I want to have even more places in the prompt that I can make adjustments if needed. So I'm going to copy this. Okay. I'm going to go over to my other tab and I'll share. Don't worry. There we go. Where I have Raina pulled up. Okay. All right. So here I have Raina. And so what I'm going to do with Raina, I'm going to change this. I'm going to go ahead and make this smartest for now. I could do fastest as well, but I just like to put smartest when I'm building out these different instructions. And I'm going to say, hey, Raina, all energy with Raina there. I'm going to say, please help me further develop these instructions for my game. And I'm going to give the instructions, and I'm going to have Raina flesh this out for me. And I'm hoping... There we go. There we go. All right. So here it's building out the instructions. It's giving a much more detailed look to what this game could be. And for time's sake, I'm not going to go through and actually make all my changes, edits. What I would do, and we always encourage teachers to do, you want to look anything that the AI puts out and creates. You want to put your eyeballs on it, read it over and over, make sure it's exactly what your students need. But for time's sake, I'm just going to grab this prompt here. Ta-da! I'm going to copy it. We're going to go back to my other tab. I'm going to share that tab. And so I'm going to replace this prompt with this one. Now it's long, it's lengthy. I may go in, maybe take a little bit out here and there, but I'm going to start there. All right, now I'm going to go down here. We have a couple other fields. We have specific knowledge the chatbot should have. I love this part because if let's say you just talked about animal adaptations in class, you have your class notes already. You have your class teacher presentation that you've put together. You spent so much time on. You can attach that file here so the AI will reference your notes when playing this game with students. So if I was, actually building this for my class, that is what I would personally do, is add those notes or add whatever details I want my students to know right there. So that way it's pulling from that knowledge base. Lastly, we have these additional fields. This one here, the learning objective or goal for this chat. I'm going to put one here that I want my students to know the difference between an animal adaptation and a modification. So I want them to know the difference. Again, I can click the prompt assistant. It will give me an updated version of that if I want to use it. I'm going to go ahead and just accept for now. And then you also can change the different voices here if you'd like. Now, before I go in, let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and preview it. So let's see what this looks like. If we like it, if it's working the way we want. There you go. It's getting started. Okay, look at this. You get to choose your animal character and start your survival adventure. We have 4 exciting environments to explore. So I could be an Arctic survivor, a desert navigator. I'm going to be the ocean explorer. So ocean's awesome. All right. There we go. I got my choice. Now choose your animal. So now I'm going to pick an animal, and you can see how this kind of works. You go through this adventure and then you're going to learn about animal adaptations as you go, which is really fun. And if I don't like it, maybe this is not the direction I want to go. Maybe I want students to have like lives, like in a video game. You've got 3 lives as this animal, and if you make a mistake, you lose a life. I can go back to this prompt and make changes and preview it again and make it set up exactly how I want it to work. Now, we also have down here what I want to mention before you move on from this. Let's say this game works exactly as you want it. You love it. You can go here to save as a template, which I highly recommend. If you save this, as, let's say this is just your choose your own adventure game template that you can go back to over and over again and make modifications. Maybe you're like, I want to do that choose your own adventure game again, but I want it to cover fractions this time, or I want it to cover figurative language this time. I can do that by just simply going into the prompt and changing it, right? I could even go back to Raina and say, hey, make this about fractions instead. Done, right? So then next time I come back to set up the student room, I can go use template and pull up that exact template, pre-populate the fields, and it's ready to go, saving you tons and tons of time. Now, let's say this is good. I love this tool. I love this game. I'm ready to go and share it with students. I can go to save the room. But let's say I don't want them just to play the game. I want them to have maybe some research as well, or do some research about their animal. I can go to add tool, and I can add another tool if I'd like to. I can add several tools. And so I'm going to add the research assistant as well to this room. So now you see I have 2 tools in this room. Okay. Well, let's say I'm happy with it. I'm good to go. I'm going to change this grade level real quick since I think I left it as 5th grade. And I'm going to save this to a room. I'm going to name this room. Let's call this the AI Summit. There you go. And I'm going to save the room. Now, as a teacher, what this does is it brings you straight to your teacher student room dashboard. So here you can see I could share this out. And I tell you what, if you are feeling so inclined and you're excited, I think we got about 5 minutes left, maybe. If you want to try this out, you're welcome to scan this for a second if you want. Not required, because I know we don't have a ton of time. But basically what you do is your students, as they join this room, their names will populate on the screen. And then you'll be able to see, have they begun their interactions? How are they interacting? What are they saying to the chat bots? Okay, we got a couple people join. Look at them come in. Perfect. So once they start those interactions, okay, I'm going to close this for a second. You can see their name. You can see if they're active. You can see which tool they're working with. And then I can even click on one. So if I click on this person, you'll be able to eventually, when they start these conversations, generate a summary of their conversations with each tool, letting you know how engaged they are, letting you know what the conversation's about. You can even up here see, now that there won't be anything today because they just started these conversations, but at the end of the day, you want to go back and see, what did my student talk to all the different chatbots about? You can get an overall summary here as well, which will even bring out student interests. How engaged were they? What types of topics they like talking about? It'll tell you those things as well. And so people can join there. Then you also have access to room insights. So you can see the entire room, your whole class. How are they engaged in these activities? This takes a little bit longer to update. I believe it's like 10 minutes or so. And then this fully updates with everyone in the room. And then you can always manage the room, delete tools, add more tools, change the name, description, all those things. And my last favorite piece, if you go up here to the top right, you can click on the 3 dots and share your student rooms with other teachers. So if you want to give your teammates the same tool, the same activity, you can do that easily, and they can do these same interactions with their students. Last thing, if something were to be inappropriate, or like maybe someone says a word, they're like, I hate this, or I want to get out of here. Immediately you'll see a flag pop up here, and then this little notification will pop up where you can go moderate those actual conversations, see what was said. And then you can even have, I believe, you can have it set up to alert your email if you want in your profile settings. Really, really powerful, awesome stuff. Now, last thing I'll share, because I know my time is getting close here, I believe. If you want more resources on how to use Magic Student, how to create these interesting, fun activities, if you go over to resources, you're going to find a ton. You've got all of these videos that we've created. We just put out just a few days ago an updated Magic Student overview video, which walks you through everything in Magic Student, how to use it. We've got courses coming out soon that will that are updated to train you on how to use it with your students, and courses for your students to take. And then here we have student rooms already created, tons of templates that our team has made, our ambassadors, our AI ambassadors who are amazing have made. And then we've got tons and tons more. Here, I'll share this tab instead. Tons and tons more here in this library that you can access, and just simply add them to your dashboard to get started. I'm going to go back to my presentation here. Okay. Last thing I have for you. Let's pull this up real quick, see where I'm at. Okay, last thing I have for you. If I go over to the last slide, if it's going to let me here. Okay, got a couple resources for you. If you scan so we've got this presentation, which has all the clickable links that have videos, how-tos, how to create these different experiences. You can click or you can save that there. You can even go to the bit.ly Magic Student Gamify if you'd like. And then we also have our Magic School Back to School Guide, which is amazing. It is free. Now, I know a lot of teachers are already back in school, but it's still really applicable. It teaches you best prompting tactics. It gives you tools that are already set up that you can try as a teacher as well as with students. So I highly recommend you go download that as well. And I think that is all I have for you today. I may be ending just a little early, but hopefully maybe that will get Dan back on time, back on schedule a little bit.
Thanks, Andrew. That was fantastic. I loved that. Very, very practical. And if there's one thing I've noticed over the last few days at the summit, like just a bit of practical, here's how to use it, here's how to get the most out of your students. People are loving it. And because we're teachers, that's what we want, something we can go and try straight away. So, and I love how Magic School is continuing to develop and to add in all these amazing features. Didn't realize that the prompt improvement panel was in there. So I'll have to go check that out now. Andrew, thanks so much for spending some time with us. Yeah, we've got the resources there. We'll put them in our resource pack on the arena area as well. Have a great day. Good to see you.
Thank you so much, Dan. I appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much. Okay, we are going to keep going. We've got Pravin, who is waiting to come on. Pravin, could you share your screen just so when I pull you in, I'll pull your screen in straight away as well? That would be amazing. Yeah, if you are wanting to know more about Magic School, they are featured in the new book, The Educators 2026 AI Guide, and Adil, who is the founder of Magic School, has written a piece in there which is brilliant. So please do check that out. Okay, I'm going to have to stop very quickly because I just saw in the chat that somebody called me a Yorkshire man. That's offensive where I come from. I'm joking, Hamza. I'm not. I'm about an hour, 2 hours north of Yorkshire. I'm in a place called Newcastle, so I'm a Geordie. Okay, let's bring in our next guest. So Pravin is, and I'm just pulling up my bios. Pravin is an instructional designer and educator in Mountain View, who specializes in transforming STEM and education with artificial intelligence. Let's bring him in. Pravin, good to see you.
Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate that.
Hey.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop because your microphone is making a lot of noise. I don't know if you.
Okay.
Yes.
I have the.
That's better.
Better?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah. Well, I think when you move, it's making the noise for some reason. When you don't move, it's perfect.
Perfect. All right.
Great to have you. Yeah, we're still hearing it. It's quite when it comes.
Let's see. I can putting on headphones. We'll get the old-fashioned way. Let's do this.
Where is your microphone, Pravin?
I'm just using my computer microphone, I believe. This is. Oh, actually, it's using my. It's on the phone. It's trying to be smart and help me, but it is actually not being helpful.
That's perfect. No, that works now. I think something must have been rubbing up against your phone microphone, but it's perfect now. Right. What I'll do is I'll bring in your slides, and then there we go. And I'll leave you to it. Really looking forward to it. Thanks.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you guys so much. I apologize for that start right there. My name is Pravin Kaipa. I am Indian Jones over here. Part of what I'd like to share with you guys today is how we can bring AI and use technology to increase equity, creativity, and connectivity. I think humans have a capacity for greatness. And my whole thing is, I don't want to be just a sage on the stage for my students. I want to be the guide on the side, helping them grow and not just teaching them what to think, but teaching them how to think. My whole goal with this presentation, and I hope you take away, is that there's multiple ways to be a great educator, not just one. And I think everybody comes to their classroom with different talents. So with that, I'd like to share a little bit about kind of what I've done in my classroom, who I am, what I bring to the table, and how I can help you grow your creativity, because I believe that creativity is just intelligence having fun. And I want to give you as many chances and empower you to have as many opportunities to help your students have fun as well. So again, my name is Pravin Kaipa. I'm a neurodiverse father of 3 wonderful kids. I live in Boulder Creek, and I drive into Mountain View every day. I teach students with special needs. I teach math and science this year. But before that, I've been teaching for 15 years. I've taught English, I've taught drama, I've taught journalism, spoken word. And then even in my first year after I graduated from college, I took a year to sub K through 12. So I've taught every single subject for at least a day here in the Bay Area and up and down in California, as I taught in LA as well. Just a quick brag sheet, because I don't think educators take enough time to shine their own light. So I'm a 2020 UCLA Writing Fellow. I got my master's in education from UCLA, where I focused on creativity as leadership, language development through theater. I taught Aladdin and Phantom of the Opera my first year in South Central Los Angeles. And I, as many teachers, put in my own money to make sure that our students had lights and sound. And I drove my student, my genie, who was painted from head to toe in blue makeup, home every day because he was a little bit afraid of the context of his life there in South Central. But for me, education and equity and entertaining makes learning something that we can all experience together. So again, I started with my single subject teaching credential in English secondary. So I've taught 6th grade through 12th grade in English. And then I went back about 6 years ago now, got my education specialist credential with an authorization to teach students with, who have autism. And I found that I'm actually neurodiverse as well. And this helped me feel a little bit more connected to my students, and also helped me think, you know, I'm not just this random weirdo. I do have other people like me, and I can do something, and I have something to offer the world. And then about 2-3 years ago, I just went to UCI's online program, and I earned my instructional design and technology credential as well. So now I have 4 degrees / credentials. So I'm tied with Steph Curry. Hopefully this year, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler break the tie with me. But a couple highlights from my career so far: AI for Education, March 25, Train the Trainer program, AI for Equity 25 Vanguard Fellow. So I'll be putting out monthly videos on how to use AI creatively and effectively to enhance your students' experience in the classroom. I was an ASU plus GSV AI Innovator presenter and a LinkedIn Top 100 AI Creatives in Education. I say all that not to just shine my own flowers, but to say that everybody has something to offer. Whether you're like this little kid over here playing Reader Rabbit and Math Blaster, and Mavis Beacon teaches typing, and Oregon Trail, we all have dreams and we all have goals. And I think it's up to us as educators to help support our students in that. So in this area, our learning adventure this year, what I did last year was, it was the first year I wasn't teaching English. So I was just teaching math and science, and I was a little terrified, to be honest with you. I was like, okay, I've taught math and science as part of math, science, history, and English, but I've never just taught math and science. And growing up, I didn't always have a growth mindset. I would tell myself I was bad at math, So this was me kind of reclaiming that and also making sure that my students had an experience they would never forget. Quite often, students with special needs, English language learners, and students from low socioeconomic backgrounds are not often thought of as people that can go beyond their station. So what I decided was I was going to group the science and math curricula together, and I made 3 big themes on natural disasters, the human body, and ecosystems. And I try to pair those with experiences and assessments that brought parents and admin and other teachers into the classroom so that parents of students with IEPs could see their students in a different light. I don't want parents to just see their students when they're, getting called into the office, or when it's an IEP meeting and we have to go over their goals and maybe they didn't meet their goals or maybe they did, but I want them to see their students in a light where they see joy, they see happiness, they see excitement as to what they're doing in class and what they're learning, because they have something to offer the world beyond just what they can do on a test or a paper or some standardized test. Because honestly, anybody can game a test. I'm neurodiverse, and I learned, hey, this is the way you take the test. And even in high school, I've realized that grades aren't an accurate reflection of student knowledge. And so for me, portfolio-based learning and assessments that are a creative way to experience beyond our lives and what we're doing is paramount. So we started with natural disasters. And so how this kind of ties back into AI. I used Claude to create interactive games. So we started with hey, how can I differentiate this text for students who are reading at, say, a kindergarten reading level or 3rd grade reading level, or who are English language learners? Now we have standardized textbooks. We have the TCI textbook. We have Houghton Mifflin. We have all the textbooks, right? But for students with special needs and for our students that are English language learners, we need to meet the students where they're at. And I think it's really important that we do what we can to differentiate education at that level, to personalize education at a level that respects the students, not just talks over their head, but scaffolds. The lights in my room turned off, sorry. It's fine, I'm cool. But natural disasters are happening all around us. So for example, last year in Scotts Valley here in the West Coast, we had a tornado, which is crazy, right? So my students actually went through, on Mondays, we did Mnemonic Mondays, where we'd create a song in Suno, which is an AI music-based tool. I would ask them to tell me the key parts, the functions, the connections to other disasters, and then we would use whatever songs and styles they liked to create songs. On Tuesdays, we would call it Tech Tuesdays. We would use Claude to create an interactive game. One of my friends on LinkedIn, Jason Gulia, showed me this, hey, you can create an interactive game using Claude, and I modified it for our students with special needs and our English language learners. And I asked them, hey, what is something that you're interested in? So last year we made Super Mario All-Stars earthquake games where they learned about P waves being a push wave, S waves being a side-to-side wave, and then the 3rd wave after an earthquake being a surface wave. It goes up and down. So one of the great things about what we did and what we're doing is we're generating relevant, engaging material for our students. And then Wednesday, we started our review of the terms and the concepts using guided notes. So I used Gamma, which is an AI-based tool. I put in the notes that I had made from the textbook, and then I asked it to differentiate it through Claude down to maybe a 3rd grade level, focused on the key points and functions. And then I used Philip Alcock's AI kind of project-based learning approach to create a central question for each week. So for example, for our ecosystems, it's how can we better understand the world around us? How can we positively affect the world around us? And what happens when things change? For natural disasters, I led my students into an assessment where we invited parents, teachers, and other people in the back of the classroom. And then at the 5 tables in my class, there was a different scenario. So for example, one of the tables was, there's an earthquake at the school. You need to get you and all of your friends safely out of the classroom. What do you do? And so they earned badges at each of the various stations. So we went through earthquakes, tsunamis, floods. We went through volcanoes. We went through wildfires. And so at each station, they got a patch. And I had given them like a safety vest. And so they got AI-generated patch for each of the wildfires. And then at the back of the classroom, they created a family evacuation plan and shared it with their parents. And then we got to have like kind of like a photo booth in the back where they took a picture with their parents. And I had made certificates. So I signed it, and then I try to have the admin sign it so that they were able to get really, really engaged in the material in a way that reinforces the joys and the energy that they bring to the classroom. After that, we did a unit on the human body. And I know that a lot of students with special needs are often forced into careers that they are more remedial tasks. But I was like, hey, what if we make our students community health leaders? So with that, I decided to focus on 7 body systems. And so I created different AI-based patients, so for each of the body systems. And so each of the body systems was represented by a patient that the students had to identify first which body system was affected, then discover like whether it was an injury or an illness, and then give them a treatment plan. And here's kind of where I kind of hit my stride with math. So obviously I'm teaching math and science. Math by itself can be really dry, but what if we make math tied into the curriculum? So for example, for body systems, we talked about how like Miss Pia's medicine supply. If Miss Pia has used 1/4 of her medicine supply, she started with 100 tablets, how many tablets are left? Or Miss Maysami has completed half of her patient records. If she had 50 records to review, how many has she finished? And so like that, I used the teachers around them. I used some of the students' names, and I would create math every day that was actually based off of what subject we were studying in science. So it wasn't just some BS like, we're gonna do this problem has to go like this. Like, no, that's stupid. Like, let's do something that's engaging and interesting to the students. And so when we finished the human body unit, one of the things that was really cool was I was able to buy like white lab coats for each student. And then we got a little certificate that said that they're now a community health leader. And one of the things that I brought my instructional design certification kind of background to was I had checked in with the nurse. And so I had the nurse come in and talk to students about common injuries and illnesses for middle schoolers. And so by the time they finished, they kind of had a better idea of how to take care of themselves and how to help the people around them. Last year, I had a student who was epileptic. And so throughout the year, he would have seizures occasionally. And by the end of the year, the students knew to push the tables away from him when he was having a seizure. They knew the difference between a seizure where he had completely lost control versus a tonic-clonic seizure where he just lost control of his body for a minute. They knew to tell a teacher, they knew to keep the time of like, hey, this is the first time he got a seizure, so let's like write the time on the board and different things like that. So they were better prepared and not scared when a student around them had a seizure. And one of the parents shared that like this is the first time that they had seen their students in a positive light, not just in a meeting with the office or the principal, not just in an IEP meeting. And as a parent of a 14-year-old and a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old myself, like that really touched my heart. So actually behind me is one of my students from last year created a Sonic the Hedgehog mixed with the muscular system and his skeletal system and kind of cut that down So that was really cool. Got it. So human body system, natural disasters, ecosystems, went through everything. Emergency planners, they created real evacuation plans for their own families. Community health leaders that diagnosed patient illnesses, proposed treatments, earned their own white lab coats. And then ecosystem explorers. I don't know if you guys remember Carmen Sandiego or Indiana Jones, but I had them earn fedoras for explorers. And then Carmen Sandiego had stolen different animals from different ecosystems. And so I created 5 stations, and at each station was a different ecosystem, and they had to match the predators to the prey, the flora to the fauna, the fauna to the ecosystem, and then they had to match the ecosystems there. And then they earned, obviously, their fedora, and they had a little photo booth in the back with their parents. Thinking about the future, my goal is to create our district's official artificial intelligence policy. We've had some great presenters this week from Brett and Rebecca, Victoria, Matthew, so many cool people that have helped me kind of get some great ideas for that. My goal is to also have a National Day of AI Literacy this spring at our school, like celebrate the Day of Literacy at our school. And I'm currently working as a teacher tech lead to help empower my fellow educators with AI. Please connect with me to help use technology for equity, connectivity, and creativity. And Dan's here, so I need to go. Please connect with me. I hope you have a great day.
I think there's going to be a lot of people watching now go, no, don't go, Pravin. If you get a chance to look back at the chat, you're getting a lot of love there for what you were sharing and kind of your approach to what you do. So really appreciate you joining us and sharing some of that. And I think someone wrote just a minute or two ago, I wish all the teachers in my school were watching this right now. So what an amazing impact you've had, Pravin. So thank you so much for joining us. And you need to do more stuff like this. Maybe your own channel, I think, and share that wisdom. Okay, Pravin, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the day. And it was great to eventually to kind of meet you in person. I know we tried to meet up in San Francisco a few months ago, but we couldn't make it work. But great to finally be able to meet you.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Take care, guys.
Okay, we are going to move straight on. So we have got a special guest next, Eleanor Parker. I'm really glad Eleanor could join us because she is going to be showing us Quizgecko. If you're not familiar with Quizgecko, Quizgecko is an amazing assessment tool, and I've kind of been aware and worked with Quizgecko in terms of checking out their products and using their tools for I think about 2 years now. I think it's been. So I'm really excited to see what Eleanor's going to bring to us and some of the cool features that they've got. So let's bring Eleanor in. Hi, Eleanor. Good to see you.
Hi, nice to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me today. I have noticed like the little green screen background doesn't seem to light the top of my head, but that's fine. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you. I think you have got probably what our viewers who aren't in the UK right now that's a proper British accent, isn't it? I feel like when people think I'm from the UK, they think I'm going to sound like Hugh Grant, but I end up sounding like this Geordie, almost Scottish, almost not. But yeah, I think you're probably going to be a bit better to understand. So what I'll do is I'll hand over to you, and I'll bring your screen in, and really looking forward to what you've got to share with us.
Great. Thank you so much, Dan. Okay, so let's get started.
They're gonna rip up your heads, your aspirations to shreds. Another cog in the murder machine. They set out, free as a step, the living shit out of me. They can care less as long as someone will bleed. So darken your clothes, I'll find the violent ghost. Maybe it'll leave you alone, but not me.
Hello, so my name's Eleanor Parker and I'm Head of Growth at Quizgecko, and that's an independent AI tool that lightens teacher workload and sparks genuine curiosity in students. So I'm not a teacher, like Pravin did an amazing talk just now, but I'm not a teacher. So I'm not here to lecture you on pedagogical methods or practice, but I have been a student and I have been a teenager. So those were my real photos from my last year at school, which was quite a long time ago now. I'd like to pretend that I'm still super young, but it was a while ago now. But I thought it would be nice to kind of show that, you know, we've all had those experiences of learning, and it's something that is completely universal, that everybody has that opportunity to go through with education. And I was literally at my parents' house like a week, 2 weeks ago, and I happened to find like all these old school reports from when I was at primary school. And look, I'm going to show them to you because, you know, I'm going to be a bit smug. I was a good student at school, you know, very good report, model pupil, all of these kind of things. So these were the kind of reports I was getting at primary school. And this is a picture of me from back in those days. I didn't actually look like that most of the time. That was actually for World Book Day. I don't know if any of you participate in World Book Day in your schools or if you have done in the past, but that was me as Anne of Green Gables. So that's actually literally the only time I've dyed my hair as well. My mum temporarily dyed my hair ginger just to be Anne of Green Gables. So I think that kind of gives you a little bit of perspective as the kind of kid that I was when I was at primary school. I did really enjoy it. I love my teachers. But then when I got older, I found being at school a lot harder. So what went wrong? This is another picture of me when I was about 15. And yeah, right down. I mean, I love that ginger hair. Maybe I should go back to it. I felt really special that day. And yeah, this was me, big fan of the band Franz Ferdinand. You might have seen me with the lead singer, Alex Kapranos. Actually, that in the little video that I showed, and actually that day I went to go see them in Glasgow, and I did skip a day of school to go see them, which is a horrible thing to say in front of a load of teachers, but it's true. And partly that was because I really loved Franz Ferdinand, and I still do, so I don't have any regrets. But partly it was because I had kind of lost my love for learning. It's sorry to say that I just didn't feel very engaged at school. I was bored, and I was at a very struggling school. So, you know, Dan, you commented on my accent, which is lovely to hear, but I'm actually from the Midlands. I live in Sussex now, but I'm from the Midlands, and the school that I went to, it had a lot of difficulties that I think many educators will face today. Just understaffed, underfunded, trying to, you know, do as much as they can with what little that they had. And yeah, I didn't like the assessments. I didn't like, you know, the homework. I found myself trying to skip class, trying not to do the homework. And I was a good kid, you know, you see those reports from primary school. I was a really good kid. So if even somebody like me who was kind of set up for school success was finding it really, really difficult, I think it is a very, very common experience that many of us have when we're at school. And I think that there's a lot of debate around AI in education right now, and rightly so. That's really important to have that talk. But I think that some people see AI as a bit of like a shortcut and a quick route. And actually, you know, they think that hard work, and let's be honest, slog is like the only way. But I think we've moved on from rote learning, and like boring, repetitive homework tasks put me off wanting to do well in school. And I think that probably a lot of students would say the same, that kind of having those really dull assessments and assignments is not something that they want to do. You know, I'm sure, I'm not a parent, but I'm sure if you're a parent trying to like argue with the kids that to do your homework, get on with it, they don't want to do it. And, you know, it's not that effective. So we think that being engaging is what is more effective. So here at Quizgecko, we have created a tool that in one generation, and I'm going to give you a bit of a demo in just a moment, you can create flashcards, quizzes, study notes, podcasts. So, you know, a whole range of different study materials all in one generation. And I kind of think that some of these things would have been super helpful for me as a student. Like right now, I am mourning the loss of Melvin Bragg as the presenter of the In Our Time podcast. It's a radio show, but also a podcast. If any of you are fans of In Our Time, that is a really in-depth study of a lot of different niche topics. I love learning, and it's about finding ways to make learning kind of engaging for me and fit in around my lifestyle. And that's what we're trying to do at Quizgecko. And these are just some of the things that we're doing now. We're also working all of the time to innovate and see which different things that we can bring in and different ways of structuring and creating content to make it feel really engaging and positive. So I'm going to give you a quick demo of Quizgecko. And let me just share this tab. Hopefully that has switched over now. So basically, then you can very easily sign up to Quizgecko. You can try it for free, completely for free. Don't need to put any details in or anything. You can just sign up and have a go. And here today, I'm going to just show you how to generate a lesson with Quizgecko that generates all of those things that I just spoke about. So I click generate. And the amazing thing is you can input any of these different resources. So one thing I think is really cool is the new record feature that we have. I know that it's really difficult sometimes to find the time to find, you know, the information that you want. It's all in your head. You just want to kind of rush and kind of send something kind of quickly to fulfill maybe like a specific student need that somebody might have emailed you or come to you after class and said, look, I just really don't understand this particular topic. You can record yourself talking as an audio file or record a lecture that you're doing and then upload that as a feature. So that's kind of like a really great new feature that we've added in there. You can enter like YouTube links if there's like a YouTube video you really like, all of these different methods to generate. So here we go. I'm going to choose today upload, and I'm just going to upload a PDF that I have here about Romeo and Juliet. And there it is, it's uploaded. And here I just have to choose a few just different customizations for the generation here. So we have all these different question types that you can pick: multiple choice, true or false, short answer, fill in the blank, matching, or mixed. I'll just keep it as mixed for the moment. You can choose your language. It does work in any language. You can see a lot of different languages here. I'm going to stick with English because despite me having quite a big streak on Duolingo, my Italian is not up to answering quiz questions on Romeo and Juliet. We have AI model, and when you have one of our schools plans or our ultra plan, then you also have the opportunity to add in custom instructions. So that could be making it more specific to your class or age requirements, or you can even say make it talk like a pirate if you wanted to create more of a fun activity, or it happens to be talk like a pirate day. So I'm just going to keep those selections as they are and then just press next. And that is literally it. So it's really, really quick. It saves a lot of time. It's just generating the lesson right now, as you can see. So we are just kind of generating like questions and answers. We've already got the flashcards generated, look. So it's something that yep, there we go. They've already generated. It's very, very speedy. And already it's kind of created all of these mixed different question types. I can see I've got like a matching question here. I can, go in and I can like edit these questions if I want to. So I can delete some that if I don't like them, I can add in another PDF or another source to generate more if I want to. So it's very, very customizable. But you can see how quick that was just to do that right now. So I can just choose to play a quiz here. I'll just do 5 questions just to show you quickly. So this is kind of like the quiz play experience. They can, choose different designs, and straight away, basically, you can get these quizzes.
Which event in Act 1 signifies the beginning of the central conflict between Romeo and Juliet?
And there you go. We even have like text-to-speech voices as well, which helps with accessibility and memory there. So all they have to do is pick the The answer, okay, right, the beginning of the central conflict is their instant. Haha, great. That's a pivotal moment, and it gives you a little bit of feedback. And again, that's all editable. So this is just an example of the quiz experience. Yeah, okay, we can go back. We can study flashcards. There's spaced repetition flashcards as well, and even chat to the lesson, which is a really great feature. Students can go in here and they can ask it to draw a diagram, to summarize like the whole PDF that you might have uploaded. I've got, sort of 4-page PDF right here, and it can just summarize that for you. And here we go. There we go. It's kind of how to think, and even kind of introduce key concepts and points to think about. So this is a really, really good tool for things like for setting homework, for kind of quick assessments within class, for if a kid has been off school for a while and needs to catch up, if they are struggling a little bit and need that extra support. And it's just a little bit more engaging and dynamic, and all within kind of like the safe system of Quizgecko. And so what you can do here as well is that you can share and you can create an assignment. And what an assignment will do is allow you to track all of your students' responses to the lesson. So I can put it, when's the assignment due? I can put it in for next week. I can change the title. So I can say that's for class 6. Get the spelling right whilst you're on a talk with teachers, Eleanor. You can customize all of these different options, so you can choose different play modes, and you don't have to share all of the different elements. If you just wanted to assign a podcast to them to listen, if you just want to share like just the study notes or the quiz, for example, that's all you can do is customize it by turning it off and on. It's that easy. You can also change like the quiz behavior, so you don't have to show them the correct answer. You can shuffle the questions, only allow one attempt, set a pass mark, maybe like 60%, add a time limit. All these kind of things just make it a little bit more like an assessment, or allows students to kind of engage with it in a kind of stricter level. I remember I used to either do my homework in like 5 minutes before the class, or I would kind of spend hours on it, but not really do anything. So kind of setting time limits even on questions and the quizzes itself allows students to kind of start to practice to respond to answers within assessment style conditions. And then if I just go back to what I created earlier in a bit of a Blue Peter way, that would be helpful if I went to the right place. So I created one earlier, just a very short, small class of me and one of my cats, Wilbur. It was actually me. It's just an example. But basically, this just shows you like the analytics that you get back from when you create an assignment. So you can go in and you can see that, there's a total like summaries here, the questions that were passed, the scores. I can click into individual reports. Oops. Of course, there's always like something kind of going on. That's gone on to another tab. So yeah, but you can see all of the different results. So it just gives you that real granular ability to look into how students are doing. You can see that myself as Wilbur passed, myself as myself failed. So there is that opportunity to maybe like address students who are struggling, like pick up on students who maybe aren't as engaged. I think that definitely myself at school, I was really good at putting a brave face on it and kind of getting away with the bare minimum. And I think that, it's something that when you actually have things that help hold you accountable, then I think I would have done a lot better at school. And actually, I did okay at school. Sorry, I did pretty good at school. So I did get like the kind of grades that I needed at GCSE, and I did pretty well at A-level. But I've got to say, I actually did not get into university, or at least the university course I wanted to do first time round. So I think it kind of shows like the you know, the danger that when students are not properly engaged and supported, they can fly under the radar. And I really wish that I had a tool like this to be able to just really allow myself to study, because I just did not know where to turn. And my teachers were, some of them were really, really great teachers, some of them not so great. I'm sure you can probably say that about org teachers, but overall I felt like even the really, really great teachers were really stretched for time. And I wish that they had had this additional support for them to be able to create these materials, to be able to share them with me, so that I had a direction to go in and I knew where to go. And I think that even now it's potentially even harder with, you know, wide-ranging internet and AI, where you just don't even know where to start and you don't know how to do it. So this is like one way that you can engage with students, by giving them this opportunity to engage with the material, but in a way that you've curated, so that it's part of what you want to present to them. And let's go back here, back to my presentation. So that was just a very quick overview of basically the generation process on Quizgecko. There's plenty more to discover, but we are limited on time today, and I didn't want to take up all our time just showing you the demo. And, you know, I guess the proof is in the pudding with Quizgecko, that we have so many really, really, really wonderful reviews and testimonials and responses all of the time. I've picked out just a few for you to see today. And I am genuinely so happy to be working with a tool that makes such a difference to people studying, especially, you know, with some very difficult subjects and difficult ways of having to study. So, you know, here that, you know, they were having trouble learning in lectures, and then using Quizgecko really helped them study their medicine course. So, I mean, I could go on because we have so many. I had to only just pick like a few, and I wanted to put like a whole spreadsheet of testimonials on for you today, but that would take forever and the whole 30 minutes of my allocated time. So I won't do that. But the students really, really love using Quizgecko. Teachers love it too. But I know that as educators, what you really, really care about at the end of the day is the student experience, and they find it super useful. And what happened to the girl who fell out of love with learning? She did get to university. Yay! I did English at the University of Nottingham. I'd originally wanted to do English and history, but I did English and I loved it. I was nearly, Dan, when you were talking about accents, going to go into a whole long thing about English place names and how different languages, you know, different regional dialects in English developed after the Norman invasion. And I could have gone on for a while about that because I really, really enjoyed it. And I kind of rediscovered my love of learning. I do wish that I had a tool like Quizgecko to help support my independent study a little bit more as well. But I did also go on to do a master's. Yay! So she did all right in the end. And then today, here I am happily representing Quizgecko and trying to make things just a little bit easier and a little bit more engaging and fun for the learners of today. So that's it. Thank you so much for listening. I think I just finished a little bit early, so that's perfect for Dan's time and schedule, hopefully. But
thanks so much for that. I really enjoyed how you kind of folded in your story there and kind of took us on a bit of a journey. Thanks for doing that, and I think it really resonated with people, that story. So and to hear it from, I suppose, to hear it, I mean, you were very honest with us earlier that you're not a teacher, and I think anybody who's not a teacher presenting to a group of teachers, let alone hundreds of teachers around the world, is quite a nerve-wracking thing. But I thought the way you told your story and kind of came at it from that point of view of you as a student was really powerful. So thanks for doing that, Eleanor. And yeah, check out Quizgecko. There is, and I saw some people in the chat asking like for costs and things like that.
Yeah, so Quizgecko is definitely free to try. Everybody can generate a lesson, see how it works for you. Like, I think that's the most important thing, that we just want to make sure that it's something that you feel comfortable using and that it works for the kind of education that you're providing. And then the costs, I know that this is going to be like quite a wide, I'm just trying to remember exactly the cost for the US. It's $72 a year. So that's in USD. There is just, it's the same price everywhere, but there's maybe some, regional differences between currency transactions with the GDP and everything. GBP, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, $72 USD a year. If people did want to purchase multiple seats, then we offer a discount for that as well. So they'll be welcome to get in touch and find out more about that. But everybody can try for free. And yeah, you can see how it is. Let us know. We'd love to hear your feedback. You're welcome to email me directly. I put my email address up there. You'll find me on LinkedIn if you wanted. And you can also email us at hello@quizgecko.com if you had any more questions or wanted any assistance or help. It could be me answering, because we're a small independent team, but we've had 2 million users, so it's a super popular product, but we still want to offer that independent and friendly user experience as well.
Yeah, and I think, like all of these things, you try it out. You try like every tool we're featuring. There's paid elements. Of course, there is. And educators, I think we just got to try things out, see if it's going to have value for us, and if it has, then we go speak to the people who hold the budgets in our schools, especially if it's going to bring you value and the type of value that Eleanor has showed us. There is Quizgecko have contributed a section to the new book, the Educators 2026 AI Guide, and James, who is the founder of Quizgecko, has wrote a piece in there, a small piece around assessment and AI in education. So do check that out if you've got the book. I know a lot of you over the last couple of days have been getting yourself a copy of this. So check that out. And there's also a deal in there as well. So if you are looking to sign up, there's an offer in there for that tool. Eleanor, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'll just say, because he's not here right now, but our founder James is really extraordinary, and I think he's got some really, really exciting ideas for Quizgecko coming up as well. So we're really happy to be part of the presentation today and show you a little bit of Quizgecko, but it will all probably be even more exciting within the next few months. So keep checking back and keep in touch. And thank you, Dan, for putting on a wonderful event.
Oh,
thank you everybody for coming and listening to me and putting up with my teenage photographs.
No, I think it's the first time in the conference so far someone started with an emo song, and so you definitely set the tone.
Yeah, well, I think even back then teenagers did scare me a bit, and I think now my nephew's 14. I'm thinking, wow, I really admire all the teachers having to deal with the kids out there. So yeah, you all do an amazing job.
Thanks, Eleanor, and enjoy the rest of your day. It's great to see you.
Great, thank you.
Take care. Okay, thank you to Eleanor at Quizgecko there. We're going to keep this rolling. We've got some amazing presenters still coming up, and that includes very much so our next presenter. I've got too many tabs open. I'm trying to flick through tabs. So Dr. Jennifer Chang Wathall is a curriculum expert and AI pedagogy advocate. She's an author, a consultant, and an international speaker. I first came across Jennifer probably about 2 years ago. I don't think it was that long after I brought out my first book, The AI Classroom. Jennifer brought out her book, which is fantastic. I got to get an early preview of that and check that book out. So very much recommend it. And let's bring in the author of the book, Jennifer. Fantastic.
Wonderful. Yeah. Hi, Dan. Thanks so much for pronouncing my name correctly. I always get asked, is it Wathall? Wathall? Waffle? What is it?
You know what? I just go for it, and then what comes out of my mouth comes out of my mouth. So if I got it right, it's nothing to do with me. It's literally what came out of my mouth when I looked at it.
Spot on. And I remember, Dan, when your book first came out, you were the first one, I think, the first AI book for me to read. that was out on the
Thank
market, and it was actually really inspiring. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I know we've chatted on and off for about 2 years now, so it's great. And I think it's the first time we've actually kind of been face to face.
Yes, absolutely.
It's great to see you. Because where are you based, Jennifer?
I'm actually in Hong Kong. So, but I've just come back from Helsinki. So I do tend to live on the plane, I say, or eating my way around the world like you are. You're eating your way around the world too.
Yeah, a bit too much, I think. I need to calm it down. The
great
eating
way.
anyway. It's great. I worked in Hong Kong, I think about a year and a half ago. It's a lovely place. Working with Kellett School.
Oh yes, I know the school. Yeah. Next time you come, I'm going to take you up the peak, Dan. I bet you. Yeah, I bet you didn't walk up the peak. We've got beautiful hikes here. That's something I do every day.
I got the tram that the really steep tram that goes up. Yeah.
Yes, but we have to walk. I need to take you.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I need to stop. I'll stop eating so much on my tours. Then next time I'll be to walk. Otherwise, I'll just be a sweaty mess. But it was lovely. It was lovely. I went on my own. I had like a spare half a day, so I went up. It's a
beautiful. Good.
Yeah. Well, I'll hand over to you.
Okay. All right.
All of your time, and really looking forward to it. I'll pull myself out. Pull your slides in.
Great. Thank you, Dan. Yeah, and also thank you, Dan, for bringing us all together here in this huge community. Hi, everyone. Dan just, gave a very generous and kind introduction, and I've got everyone on my iPad down here, so I'm just going to be checking the comments every so often. Dan did say that I was based in Hong Kong. Well, I shared with Dan just then, and I've been in Hong Kong for over 30 years, so we have a lot of hikes, a lot of mountains, a lot of, forest and fauna. So, if anyone ever comes to Hong Kong, please contact me. And my offer is open to take you up to the peak for a beautiful, beautiful hike. Please call me Jenny, by the way. I teach on the master's program at the University of Hong Kong. So here are some of my students. We teach an IB certified course on the approaches to teaching and learning. So we're really focusing on the pedagogy. And my educational research areas are in EdTech, basically. And I think EdTech is that big umbrella where AI just sits under that big umbrella. So I've got a keen interest in EdTech tools, AI, teaching online, and just online learning in the virtual environment. And most importantly, besides being a mother and a wife, I was a former classroom teacher for 27 years in the classroom. I'd like to say I started at 12, but I didn't. And this is one of my past students. So when you're a teacher and you're lucky enough to have one or two students that you've taught that actually become teachers. So this is Eileen. She's in her 40s, but don't say that I said. She's, very experienced teacher in Singapore. And every time she comes back to Hong Kong, we walk up the peak together. This is on one of our hikes. And it's beautiful that we can share our love and passion for teaching and learning, and how she has fond memories of her time at school. So I was a former classroom teacher for 27 years, and it was actually very difficult for me to leave the classroom. Luckily, I still get to go into the classroom in my school partnership. So I partner with different educational institutions. We co-plan, we co-teach, we then reflect on the lesson, and we develop units of inquiry, curriculum, and instruction. But I want to start off by sharing a quote with you. And the quote is from this wonderful educator called Chris Binge. He's an international education consultant. He was school leader of several international schools. And he said, cultural bias in AI is the same as in people. The information we take in creates our bias. We are all a sum of the experiences we have had, the things we've read and been told. And our bias is actually a function of that input. It is the same for AI, particularly large language models. And so I think that AI tools are inanimate objects, and it really is about how we use the tool and how we use the data that's actually fed into the tool, because the data, as we know, reflects societal biases. So I tested out a few image generators. This was probably about a year ago, so you can see how image generators have actually evolved over the last 6 months to 12 months. And I asked some of the image creators to create a picture of a mathematician. So I went on Poe, and DALL-E came up with this. I thought, okay, that's interesting. A man with gray hair, glasses. I asked Stable Diffusion Excel at the time. This is probably about a year ago. And this is the image that I got. Then I tried Stable Diffusion 3.5. Here is the image that I got. And then I tried Flux Pro, and I got this image. And I thought, oh, okay, that's quite interesting. Does that mean that Flux Pro is less biased and has less stereotype than the other tools? So I thought, okay, let me try this again. So this was probably a few weeks ago. I said again, I tried some of the different image models, and I said, can you create a picture of a mathematician? And this is what I got from Stable Diffusion 3.5L. This is what I got from some of the other image generators, including Flux Pro, you see down there in the bottom right corner. And then DALL-E this time came out with a picture that wasn't stereotypical. And so it's so important that we are aware of the biases of the data that all large language models use, and teach our students to be critical thinkers, to be aware of the biases and the stereotypes that actually exist in society. And so one of my sheroes, I like to call her, Li Feifei. You may be familiar with some of her work. She's the co-director at Stanford Institute for Human-Centered AI. She's the IT professor at the Graduate School of Business. And she said this: if you're a computer and read all the AI articles and extracted out the names that are quoted, I guarantee you that women rarely show up. And in fact, for every woman who's been quoted about AI technology, there are 100 more times men that were quoted. So important that we actually teach our students about the stereotypes. And I invite you to go and try some of the image generators and see what they come up with when you say, can you generate a picture of a teacher or a doctor or a nurse or any other profession? And we can ask our students to critically evaluate, is this reflective of society? Does this represent the diverse society and culture that we have? Okay, the next concept that I want to talk to you about is Hansei. And I know that Dan is a fan of it, because I was very, very lucky for Dan to read my book, give me a lovely review about Hansei, and I'll share what he said a little bit later about it. But if you do speak Japanese, Hansei is the Japanese word for reflection, or more closely, introspection. And it's an Eastern philosophy where we want to cultivate a attitude for growth and for learning. And Hansei is actually taught in Japanese schools from kindergarten all the way up, because it's that idea that we're always learning and growing and wanting to seek improvement. And so it's a concept that I talk about in my book, the importance of being self-reflective and knowing where we are in terms of the AI journey, because it can be quite overwhelming. Now, I'm so proud of this book review, Dan. Thank you so much. I thought I would share it here. And so Dan says in the second half, the book's twist is really harnessing the Japanese concept of Hansei, turning AI into a catalyst for continuous improvement through mistake-driven learning. A great read for anyone that's serious about the future of education. So thank you, Dan, for really highlighting the importance of Hansei. So I'm going to invite everybody now to engage in some Hansei. We're going to reflect on where we are in terms of AI adoption. And I summarize this in 4 stages. So the first stage of AI adoption, I think we all remember, November 2022, when ChatGPT was first released, was the firefighting stage. Trying to choose which tool, even trying to learn what language models were, and what is ChatGPT, and then trying to provide information to the school community, teachers, parents, about some kind of guidance and information about this new educational tool that was released. Now, stage 2 is the strive stage. So after survival, we go to strive, where it really is about teacher adoption and playtime. So teachers are given time to play, to learn, to use different tools. And I always recommend that schools and educational institutions establish academic integrity and ethics protocols early on. So in this survive stage. And a lot of research that I've read and my own personal experience with partnering with schools, there's still a majority of schools and institutions that don't have their own evolving unified AI policy yet, because things are changing so rapidly and so quickly. But I really do recommend that early on in this journey of AI adoption that we really encourage and establish some academic integrity and ethics protocols. Now, the next stage after strive is thrive. So that's when we're really thriving. We're enhancing our learning through pedagogy. We're offering professional development sessions, incorporating AI, really focusing on the student-centered learning and enhancing the learning experience. So that's when we're really thriving. And then 4, that stage is arrive, where there's a total transformation of pedagogy. Imagine if we could redefine education, transform education. If I look at most classrooms, even in the movies, even on series on Netflix, I see classrooms that are really siloed, like single desks, there's no collaboration, there's a teacher standing at the front lecturing. And so I wonder why a lot of movies, TV series, and society thinks that that is the best way for students to learn. So how can we get to this arrival stage where we're thinking about a total transformation of pedagogy and utilizing AI to create new pedagogies that were previously unimaginable? Now, you notice the arrows go back and forth. So it's perfectly okay to go to survive stage anytime a new tool comes out, or when the EU AI Act was releasing their different parts, maybe we're going to go back to survive. But to know that we are going through this cycle and it's okay, whatever stage you're at, but to know where you're going to go. Okay, so I'm going to now invite you to answer a Mentimeter. So let's see if this works. I'm going to go to the next slide and I'm going to invite you now. Can you see the next slide? Not yet. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've got a Mentimeter for everybody to pick up a QR code. Let's see, here's the QR code. And let's see if you can see that. Dan, let me know if you can see the QR code. And then, yes, okay, pick up this QR code. And in a moment, it's going to take you to a Mentimeter link where you're going to show us, indicate anonymously where you are. Are you at survive, strive, thrive, or arrive? And then I'm going to show you some of the results. Let's see if it's going to load. Okay. Oh, yes, it's working. I'm so glad. Okay, I can see the dots flying across on my screen. I hope you can see it on your screen too. Oh, so many dots. Okay, so we've got some people that survive, some people that strive, some people that thrive. It looks like most people are kind of at stage 2, strive and thrive. And there's some people that survive, which is perfectly okay. We want to, really embrace every single stage in this cycle and to really understand where we're going after this. Beautiful. Okay, so it looks like most people are kind of strive or thrive stage. Okay, so what are we going to talk about next? I want to share a little story. So this story is about a builder. Now, let's say that you invite a builder to your house to come and fix your roof, to redo your roof, completely redo your roof, repaint it, and put new tiles on. And they bring their hammer along and they inadvertently lodge a huge hole in your roof. And it's such a big hole that it's not going to be easy to fix. I would actually ask you, do you blame the hammer for the big hole, or would you blame the builder? And of course, as the tool, as the hammer is an inanimate object, we're not going to be blaming the hammer. It's got to be the builder, the user right? So I always say when we're using any technology, whether it's an AI tool or any edtech tool, it's not about what tool you use, it's how you use the tool. Because you could be using a tool to still deliver a lecture, transmission method by standing in front of the class for 45 minutes. Or are you using the tool to really enhance learning, to focus on student-centered learning, to incorporate inquiry-based learning and teaching for deep conceptual understanding? So I say pedagogy before technology is really important. We focus on the pedagogy. Now, I know I have a few minutes left, so before I do go, I want to leave you with, let's go to AI-powered pedagogy. What actually is this? And this is a table from my book. So AI-powered pedagogy is about harmonizing 5 AI principles with 6 effective pedagogical principles. So let's see what they are. Data protection, we always have to take into consideration when using any AI. Ethical use, user empowerment, pedagogical transformation, and human oversight. In fact, always keeping the human in the loop. And those 6 pedagogical principles are concept-based learning, being inclusive and equitable, being collaborative and utilizing the social constructivist learning environment that we have in the classroom. Learning should be learner-centered and learner-driven. Learning should be evidenced and inquiry-based. And so I'm going to hit the pause button. We've got a couple of minutes here. I can see that, yes, there's another QR code, and this is your gift bag. So I'm going to just give you a few seconds to pick up your gift bag, and it has some resources on there for you to use later. And all the way at the end of this, there's a little visible thinking routine, a little metacognitive prompt, which says, what's your 1-star, 1 action from the little time that we've had together? As Piaget said, learning is only grounded in action. So what is the action that you're going to take after the time that we have together? Oh, I love this. Look, I can see I learned Hansei today. I always use Kaizen. Beautiful. I like the difference. Lovely. And I'm going to leave that gift box up for you, that gift bag, and remind us to always keep the human in the loop, that nothing will replace us because of the beautiful empathy and the human qualities and the care that we bring to our students and to the classroom. And I want to say thank you so much, Dan, for bringing this huge community together and connecting us and sharing these ideas and learning from each other. So thank you so much, Dan, and thank you, everyone. Enjoy your gift bag.
Thank you, Jenny. No, we really appreciate it, and thanks for really succinctly and really nicely sharing so much wisdom in the last 20 minutes. And for the gift bag, I've just put a link to the gift bag in our presenter resources on the arena area, which I'll put a link to again in a couple of minutes. Jenny, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Dan.
And I'm guessing it's probably quite late for you now, is it?
It's 11:20, which is fine. I've just come back from Helsinki. So I'm at 6 p.m. in Helsinki.
Well, I hope you don't stay up too late and that you manage to get reacclimatized. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Hong Kong. And a few people have been asking, how can they follow you?
Yes, I've got
LinkedIn is your best?
LinkedIn, absolutely. I've got my email here and LinkedIn. I think, Dan, you've been so kind to tag me in so many posts this week. So just follow, go to Dan. And I hope that we get to meet each other in person, Dan. Enjoy some dumplings, some delicious food from Hong Kong, and a hike up the peak.
Amazing. Yeah, definitely one day. Thank you so much. Check out the comments because you're getting a lot of love there. So
thank you.
Really went down well. Thanks so much, Jenny.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Take care. Okay, we're going to keep going. There's there's just so much great insights to take away here, and it's not going to stop. We're going to keep going now with Mark Orchison. Let me give you a little bit of a background to Mark. So Mark is the CEO at 9, and he is a leader on school cybersecurity, privacy, and technology. And I really tried in this summit to get that balance, between exciting innovation, between some of the innovators who are creating the tools, the teachers who do some amazing things in the classroom, and then also balancing it with the ethical sides, the privacy side, to give you the full picture as educators. And to help us in this next stage is Mark. So I'm just going to bring Mark in now. Mark, great to see you.
Great, yeah. Hi Dan, how are you doing? It's been a fantastic summit so far. Really enjoyed the presentations, and I'm really excited to be here to share what we're doing now.
Thank you so much. You sound, I don't know, for me, you sound really quiet. I don't know if you can.
Let me check my microphone. Give me a second.
Yeah, no worries. I know what it's like, especially when you've got different microphones and trying to make sure the right one's on.
I'm just looking to work out how you hear me. Okay, there we go. It's on the. That's better for you, right?
Oh yeah, perfect.
There
perfect.
we go.
Yeah. It's like you were like over the road shouting over at me. But no, that's brilliant. Mark, I'm really excited for your session. So what I'll do is I'll jump straight out. I'll bring in your slides. Perfect. And then over to you. Thanks so much.
Cheers, Dan. Okay, so wait for my slides to start. So my name's Mark Orchison. I'm the founder and CEO of 9. I'm here to talk about AI in schools, ethical, secure, and under control. And I'm going to talk to you first of all a bit about 9. So we, if you've never not heard about us before, we're a global organisation. We're based here in the UK, and we provide a lot of support to accreditation commissions and organisations that support schools from a quality perspective, such as HMC in the UK, and there's many of the accreditors here, in the areas of AI, privacy, and cybersecurity, and specifically around their accreditation standards, how their standards when it comes to accreditation and inspection need to accommodate technology, and specifically with AI, how do those standards and criteria need to change to consider how AI is being used in schools, but also the governance around how schools are evidencing the safety nets that they have to support schools. And I think I'm really excited that way. I'm sort of following Jenny's talk, because a lot of the things that Jenny talked about, the five principles, is what we do at 9. And we've built a platform that supports you as a school to be able to implement those 5 principles in a really safe and effective way. We have schools globally, so there's a handful of schools here in the US, in Canada, in the UK, and also international schools. But it's really to sort of evidence the global nature of our business. And we came from a privacy and cybersecurity consultancy. So our day-to-day work is working with schools on cybersecurity issues, on privacy issues, and there's a significant time between AI and privacy. And consequently, we have a significant level of expertise in these particular areas. We're not an education consultancy, so I can't tell you what are the best AI apps to be using from a pedagogical perspective, but I can tell you which organizations really take an ethical approach to building their products and their technology when it comes to privacy, cybersecurity, safeguarding, and child protection. Around AI, and there's a handful of the organizations here, and these are organizations who we certify, so we independently review all of their contractual documents. In many cases, we will look at their AI models if they are using AI, and also we will look at their cybersecurity protection. So we do pen testing of their software products in many of these cases. And if any of these providers are vendors that you use, you can actually get our assessment of those platforms through the 9 website free of charge. But I think it just goes to show that as an organization, we are sort of like, quite deep in terms of not only what is going on in terms of schools, what is changing from a regulatory perspective. Jenny mentioned the EU AI Act, but you have changes at a state level in the US, such as in Virginia. You have changes going on in Canada, and in most other countries around the world, there are changes at a legal perspective, dovetailed with actually how technology is built. So how AI models are built, for example, us evaluating Flint's model, or us understanding the protections of final sight or my new term when it comes to how they are building their technology, not only integrating AI, but also the privacy protections that they have. To learn more about our expertise, you can visit our blog. So there's a whole range of different blogs. Go to the 9 website on the right-hand side, find insights. And there's some examples here around talking about human in the loop, or we're looking at how using AI can inadvertently bring more cybersecurity issues into your school through Trojan AI, as highlighted here. I'm not going to focus on any of these blogs. You can go and explore those. If you do visit our website, you can actually download a card game called Turing Trials. This is a game you can play with both teachers and students to really raise awareness of the ethical issues around integrating AI into the curriculum. It's a free game. You can download it. You can cut out the cards. Or if you go to any of our sessions that we are doing globally, you'll find those also on the website. You can pick up a game of cards from us. So integrating AI into the curriculum, obviously there are exciting opportunities. And as Dan mentioned, this summit is not only about explaining those opportunities and talking about those tools, but also how do we protect our schools? How do we protect our students? How do we protect our brand as a school if anything were to go wrong? And we've seen with cybersecurity that brands can be damaged, reputations can be affected. And there's not only legal issues around those, there are litigation-based issues. So with those risks as schools, we need to understand the AI tools that are being used. We need to understand the oversight and have controls. And we need to understand and manage the risks that we have around safeguarding privacy, cyber, and data misuse. And when I talk about safeguarding, I'm talking about a wider child protection concern. Safeguarding is a very UK term. And essentially what safeguarding means is managing the online risks associated with technology around content, which is exposure to inappropriate content or inappropriate conversations having with chatbots, contact, harmful interactions, both with a person or with an AI, conduct, which is around cyberbullying, and also commerce, which is inappropriate advertising and those sorts of things. And as schools, with the EdTech tools that you currently have, bringing in additional tools such as AI or adding AI into an existing platform can lead to duplication of costs, or also increasing costs through unmonitored subscriptions. You also have the regulatory and ethical landscape that causes challenges around schools being able to evidence how they are meeting both a regulatory requirement, but also in many cases, parents want to understand how schools are considering the ethical considerations around integrating AI into the curriculum. There's some examples there, not only in the EU, you have them in the UK, we have them in Saudi, we have them in the Middle East, we have them in Asia, and also we have them in the US. So how are you as a school overcoming the regulatory and ethical landscapes that we have? We do have lots of different content on these, and within 20 minutes, I don't have all the time to sort of go into the different challenges that many of you will know what those are. So generally, we have this oversight gap. And at 9, we've been working very hard over the past couple of years, 16 years in total, to support schools in overcoming this oversight gap. And we've done that through a platform that I'm going to take you through and show you how you as an educator can overcome some of these challenges. Now, typically when we're talking about bringing technology into a school, you have a teacher request, IT may review it, there may be a finance sign-off, there may be some sort of approval process. What we're generally seeing with AI, either edtech providers are integrating AI into their platform as just a part of the AI arms race, or teachers are signing up, there aren't any compliance reviews, there may not necessarily be a sort of finance sign-off because it may be a freemium product. And there may not be any controls around that spend or what's added to departmental spends. So we're having issues. Not only do we have issues at the moment in schools around managing EdTech, but with the proliferation of AI and the arms race that we typically see around AI. And it's not just an arms race in terms of developing tools. It's an arms race around how do I get my edtech products with AI into as many teachers' arms as possible, or as many schools as possible, and in the easiest possible way. And in many cases, the easiest possible way misses a lot of the safeguarding, safeguards that you would expect to have as part of an edtech provider, and that could be privacy safeguards, it could be cyber safeguards, it could be child protection safeguards. And so with AI being the AI proliferation, there are issues around accountability, there are issues around risks, and that's at What9, what we do, and we have a unified platform that allows you to understand how AI is being used in your school, but also how you need to manage the risks and issues that AI brings. So I'm going to jump into the platform now, and I'm going to show you a number of different products, and they all link together to give you a single oversight in terms of managing edtech and managing AI in your school. So the first one is called Vendor, and Vendor is all around us vetting edtech vendors to understand the types of risks that they pose to your school. And we're looking through the lens of privacy, we're looking through the lens of AI, and we're looking through the lens of safeguarding and child protection. And our goal here is to assess all of the documents and all of the contracts and everything that is provided by the edtech vendors to give you a level of analysis of what those risks are, but also to break the analysis down in a meaningful way so you can take actions and you can protect your school community from the risks that are posed by using that edtech vendor. Now, some of those risks may be liability risks when it comes to contracts, in terms of the liability that you're holding, or there could be more specific risks around the access that your children may have to specific components of the edtech that will cause risks of harm. So we have the log. We're going to look into one first of all called Discord. Just to give you an example, Discord here, we can see that there are privacy challenges, we've done a full assessment, it uses AI, there are limited risks, and there are safeguarding risks of harm. So when we go into Discord, we can see some more information around the types of risks that there are, and also the types of issues and tasks that you as a school need to undertake to use Discord in a safe and effective way. To go into more detail around what those actually are, we can quick start Discord and look at Discord from a more detailed aspect. So here we have our vendor assessment log, and these are all the different edtech providers that I am using in my school. So I've gone through the library and I've selected the ones that I use. Here I can see which country, the country where the personal data associated with that provider is processed. So here with Discord, I can then go into the detailed assessment of Discord, and I can see how 9 have evaluated all of the contractual documents associated with Discord. And from that, there are detailed risks and issues that me as a school, I as a school, have to address and to use that specific provider. So our vendor platform is designed to really support those who have an administrative oversight for managing edtech in your school, to ensure that you understand the types of risks around privacy, AI, cybersecurity, and child protection, and you do so in a meaningful way, so we can aggregate all of our risks associated with all of our edtech vendors in one place. We can actually report upon those in a very effective way, and we can manage and we can protect our school communities in a structured and evidence-based way. Now, one of the issues that we have with schools is supporting our teachers to understand what the risks are. So if we've chosen a provider like Discord, because whilst there are risks and there are lots of risks with different edtech vendors, how do we support our teachers to really understand and integrate that vendor into their lesson planning, or for when they are using that edtech vendor, that they understand what the risks are, so they can be the human in the loop. They can be an effective human in the loop using the edtech vendor, using the AI. And at 9, we've developed a platform called Application. And what Application does is it takes the analysis from vendor, or you as the user take the analysis from vendor, and you can build out your entire edtech library that your teachers can access. And your teacher can access this, they can access all the edtech that you have. They can filter it by department, by curriculum area. They can create TripAdvisor type reviews, and they can actually see in quite a lot of detail, depending on what you want, what they have to be doing if they are using a particular vendor. So with Discord here, you can add in a whole load of training materials and videos associated with Discord. So you can tell them how to use that platform. You can detail the risk profile associated with the AI. And also you can give any child protection information associated with using that platform. And Discord here have been incredibly responsible in terms of creating information for educators around what they need to be aware of. So you can take that information and you can present it back to your teachers so they understand how they should be using technology in a safe and secure way, using the intelligence that we have pulled together through our vendor platform. If there's edtech in your school if there's edtech that teachers want to use that's not currently within your directory or within your library, you can either have teachers do an application request, so you manage and streamline the request process, and that includes compliance checks. The whole platform manages the compliance checks, through to building out your own library from an inbuilt directory that we have of common edtech platforms that are tiles that you can pull in and build your own inventory of edtech within your school. Now, the last thing I want to touch upon is cost. And with AI, you are bringing in additional costs that haven't been budgeted for, or edtech vendors are adding in AI and increasing their license charges. So we've built a product called Contract that integrates how you're using technology in the classroom. It integrates with the compliance checks and the vetting of your edtech vendors to build out a spend profile for your school of what your current spend is around edtech and what your future spend could be based upon the subscriptions that you have. It also allows you to manage your costs in terms of renewals, in terms of terminations, to ensure that all the edtech that you have is edtech that you actually need, and the edtech that you don't actually need, you can drop off. And integrating with our TripAdvisor style platform or feature within application, you can pull through all of the reviews against all of the contracts that you hold, so you can start weaning out edtech that isn't necessarily fulfilling its purpose, or edtech that actually isn't meeting the pedagogical goals that you're setting as a school. So Contract really brings together with application and with vendor, complete oversight of your edtech spend. What's really nice here is that when I go into my contracts, I can actually then see a specific contract with aligned with its own rating from teachers, and then I can see the different assessments associated with the vetting of those specific products. Now, I've gone through there and I've shown 3 products that we have to support you as a school in ensuring that you are approaching and integrating AI in an ethical way, using the intelligence that our consultants are pulling out of contracts, and also intelligence around how we are technically evaluating edtech providers in their integration of AI into their platforms, to give you practical tasks, risks, and issues to improve the way that you are using technology and protect your school communities. I know that's like a whistle-stop tour in the short time that I have. If you're interested in anything that I have shown you there, then you can just go to the 9 website and you can request a trial. A lot of the things that we talk about when we say about human in the loop, we have a lot of webinars that we go on, and part of our platform also includes online training for AI, which I haven't had a chance to show you, but there's lots of courses that we have, an LMS that has cybersecurity and privacy training well. So Dan, I know there's a lot to go through in that short time frame. Hopefully I've given some food for thought around our platform and how it supports schools.
Mark, it was fantastic. I think it's one of those tools where it speaks for itself. I think it's what's sometimes the best tools. They don't watch what I'm saying here, but aren't the sexiest, if you know what I mean.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, and what
to get the job done. That's
yeah. We're not really like sexy. We're like compliance. We're like compliance in sports schools to do it right, and that's a really hard thing to do because it's the boring bit that people know they have to do. It takes a lot of time, but it's you get it. You know what we're talking about. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just thinking that's a night not coming back as a partner next year. But no, honestly, like just getting the job done and covering those basics is so important, especially when it comes to this new technology. And honestly, just if you get a chance to look at the chat, people have got loads of questions in there. So I was going to put a few questions to you, but I don't have time now. But if you
if I put my email here, people can ping me my email.
Yeah, or jump in the chat afterwards and chat to people if you've got time. But thanks so much for joining us, Mark. And go check it out. Number 9 INE.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark. Take care. Good to see
Cheers.
you.
Bye.
Okay, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep rolling because we have got Tony Vincent joining us next, who will be no stranger to many of you. We're gonna go from that side of the AI spectrum to the really creative side, which I'm really, really excited to share with you. So let me give you a little bit of an intro to Tony. So Tony's a veteran EdTech consultant. And K-12 innovator, and is I've known about Tony since I was a classroom teacher in the classroom and followed him for a long time. So it's great to have him with us. Let's bring him in. Tony, great to see you.
Great to see you too.
Yeah, I'm loving the wall behind you. Is that real or is that a
Well, it's not AI, but it's also not real. It's just a backdrop.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Right, so you get all your time. I'm going to jump out and let you go for it.
All right, thanks. Well, good morning, afternoon, whatever time it is for you. I'm Tony Vincent, and when we think about AI images, it kind of is such a visual way to see how AI has come, how far it has come in the last few years. AI image generation a few years ago were blobs. And at that time, it's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. But now today, they can make pretty much realistic images, meaning that as educators, we have kind of a digital artist in our pocket. And I'd like to talk about ways to creatively use those as educators. First, a little bit about me. I have a website called learninginhand.com that I've had for a long time. I'm an education and technology speaker. My most important job is that of dad. I have a website called Shapegrams, which is digital art lessons for students. And I work as a consultant. I'm the AI coordinator for the Council Bluffs School District in Iowa, which is where I live. So I get to dive into AI and use my expertise for that. And I also substitute teach occasionally. In fact, when I get done here, I'm off to a school. But no matter my role, I know and believe in the power of visuals, taking something that's maybe abstract and making it more concrete. Using visuals to grab attention, to boost comprehension, to give students something to talk about. There's a lot of reasons to use visuals in what you do. And like I had just said earlier, it's like we have a little handy assistant that can do some of the drawing for us because we may not have the time or the talent to take the photo ourselves or draw it ourselves. Now, I wish I had time to go into how AI image generation works. There's a few different models and ways it happens, but one way is a diffusion process where pixels become more and more clear. There's another process that's more like a 3D printer where it goes layer by layer. That's called auto-regressive. But it's kind of fun to see the images come together depending on which generator you're using. And so if you get time, go to YouTube or TikTok or somewhere and just see how AI generators work, because as Abraham Lincoln is here, or Abraham Lincoln is saying, it is absolutely fascinating to find out how AI image generators actually work behind the scenes. And here's a little prompt that I used for that image. And actually, that brings me to my quick tip for you. And that is, when you're generating images with AI and you want text in there, text is a little tricky for some AI image generators. And you can have a perfect image and the text is mixed up. Often what I do is I ask for an image with the main character, main scene off to the side, giving me empty space to actually write. So if you're like me, you've probably struggled a little bit with AI generators. This is a great quick tip for you. Because on Blue Sky, check this out. This poster, Chuck, he went to, he doesn't say which generator he used, but I've tried this and they are kind of similar. Generate a map of the USA with each state named. Now, I know this is an international summit, so some of you may not realize some of these names don't exist, but if you look closely, some of these letters don't even exist. It happens to get Iowa really close, but I think it made it start with J, so it has Jiowa right there in the middle of the United States. And that's because if you go back to see how the diffusion or autoregressive models work, they're not trained on text like LLMs, and so they're trying to piece together pictures, and they're just not super great at it yet, but they are certainly getting better. So I have a chart, and there's a link right there for you at my website, learninginhand.com/pictures. I have some resources there, but probably the best resource is this spreadsheet that has some of my favorite free AI image generators, and I've compared them. Sometimes I think I'm presenting too many choices here, but AI image generation is kind of expensive for these companies to offer. So sometimes you'll hit a limit and it'll say, sorry, no more generating for today. It's nice to know that you can jump over to another tool, perhaps, if you're not, if you don't have a paid one that you use. And then speaking of text, I did ask, this one is ChatGPT, to make an infographic. I just asked it to generate an infographic about the impact of visuals on learning and memory. And this is what it came up with. It pulled in some quotes. It gave some statistics. Though the one statistic there, that visuals are processed 60,000 times faster than text. Like it says, the exact number is debated. It hasn't been proven, but it threw that into the chart. You might notice it matches the color scheme that I have for my presentation. I kind of went with a navy and orange color. And so I told it to use those colors in the infographic. Here's another one that ChatGPT did. Sometimes it has the pieces missing, moved around. And then I just very recently asked Gemini with its new Nano Banana model to generate an infographic. I just said about the power of visuals and learning, and it gave these three statistics. It put the 60,000 times faster in there, even though that's not exactly proven, and it didn't qualify it like ChatGPT did. Now, I could certainly feed it the exact information that I want in there, but I'm looking here, since I just generated this, there might not be any typos. Usually there's something a little bit wrong in there, and then when you go back to iterate on it, it gets a little messy. So when it comes to things like infographics, I still like to make them myself with my own text boxes, so that I can have full control over exactly what it says. And really, there are a lot of existing infographics that are human made that are just way better than anything AI can make at this point. So I would just do a Google search if I needed an infographic on visuals and the importance of visuals rather than generating it. Which brings me to my first main topic for you, and that is really, when should you use existing images versus AI generated images? And if we look at existing images, there's places where you can browse collections of images online, Pixabay and such, where you can get Creative Commons 0 and public domain images, or maybe you have plenty of images in your camera roll that you can just use that you've taken yourself. You can search very easily. You can refine what you're looking for with keywords. Now, they're existing images, so you're limited to just what's there already. And there might be usage restrictions, copyright and all that. These images may not be unique. If you're going for photos, they're real photos, so they're going to be more photorealistic than what AI can come up with. But AI images, they're slower to create. They can take a while. So you have to be patient. You may need multiple revisions, so even more patience multiplied. But what you create are original and customized. They can be almost exactly what you need. Match your color scheme. Have your school mascot in them. Make it exactly what you need. That is the power of AI images. So you can have it match your style, your colors, and it may have some odd flaws that just take too long to fix that you just leave in there, I guess. I do anyway. There are ethical concerns about AIs and how they might have, where they got their artistic abilities, what they've been trained on. Maybe there's some plagiarism, or you can be stepping on intellectual property. So that's something to keep in mind. And with generating AI images, there is a heavy environmental cost. So I think about that every time I generate an image. Would it be faster and easier and better if I just used an existing image? And of course, both of them are, you can use anywhere. They're usually a JPEG or a PNG file. And like I said earlier, they can boost attention. They can enhance communication. They might not match either one exactly what you had in mind, but we have to just settle at times. Always mind copyright, give attribution, and well, I leave that chart up a little bit longer. This is at learninginhand.com/pictures, and I saw somebody put it in the chat, so that's awesome to know. And then I just saw this on Facebook the other day where people are saying McDonald's now has a buffet, an all-you-can-eat buffet, accompanied with this picture. And when I first was scrolling on Facebook and it was just a little tiny post, I kind of didn't think too much of it, but then I was like, the price, $12.99, that's kind of a deal. Of course, when I zoomed in, I realized there's a lot of AI goofiness happening in this picture. Like, it's now obviously AI when I start to think about it. But of course, I went to dinner with my dad yesterday, and one of the topics of conversation, he says, "Oh, did you see that McDonald's has opened a buffet now?" So I had to break it to him that it was AI generated. So being aware of AI generated images is certainly an important skill in 2025. I mentioned that I have kids, my son and daughter here, or is it? If you'd like to guess in the chat, or is this my son and daughter? They're just going into 7th grade. They've started 7th grade here. Is it AI generated, or is it a real photo? And I asked that. Lauren already sees that they have 6 fingers, and my real kids don't have 6 fingers on one hand, but this is a real photo because we 3D printed this extra finger just to add some AI goofiness to any picture that we take. Plausible deniability, I guess, for our AI images. All right, so when we want to prompt to get an AI generated image, it's like painting a picture with your words. And just like we tell students, that's what good writers do, right? They paint a picture in your mind. We have to paint a picture for AI. So when we talk about creativity with image generators, we can take what we have in our mind and get it out there. And that's kind of what divergent thinking is. Divergent thinking is a thought process of coming up with lots of ideas and solutions until you find one that works for you. Sounds familiar when we work with AI images. So the FOFE here, F-O-F-E, is a collection of skills that support divergent thinking and creative thinking. So I want to just briefly talk about each one of these and how I apply them and think about them when I'm making creative illustrations with AI. And I have a PDF here that you can get from my website, but let's start with fluency. Fluency is simply generating multiple ideas. And many image generators do this already. If you use ideogram, it always generates 4 images, and so does Canva. And then you can pick from there or regenerate again. But really just being able to generate a quantity of ideas so you can pick one that works from there, or it might send you off on another path. And as I said earlier, my chart with all these image generators kind of show you that you can kind of dip your toe into different ones and see what you get, so that you have that fluency. Then part of divergent thinking is originality. That's getting novel and unexpected ideas, kind of thinking a little bit outside the box, perhaps, thinking of abstract themes. And here, like illustrating idioms is kind of fun, where you can literally depict what it means while at the same time kind of showing what the idiom really is expressing. So a little girl's playing with fire, or if you're cool as a cucumber. My daughter Ellie wrote last year when she was in 6th grade, The Great Muffin Mishap. And for this, she is a story about her friends, and they used this teal food coloring, and they didn't have chocolate chips, so they used white chocolate. So I worked with her, and we generated images to make a title for it. And that's kind of original. That's made from muffins. And then because she was able to illustrate it herself, she could put the exact ingredients that she mentions in her story, including those white chocolate chips and teal food coloring. Then scroll down, and I really like this. Ellie and I thought about what can we do to make our pictures more original. And one of the ways you can do when you're prompting AI is tell it what perspective you want. You know, the girl's taking muffins out of the oven. So we decided let's try to do it from the perspective of inside the oven. So changing your perspective is a way to be original in your images. Or change it to something unexpected. Here's my logo for this presentation, but I had Gemini turn it into neon or Jello, or put it on a mountain. So originality is kind of those unexpected, original ideas. Flexibility is considering new perspectives and unexpected interpretations. So I'm going to go against common advice given when you're prompting a chatbot. And with flexibility, that is to get something unexpected is be vague. Be vague in your prompt. Just see what it gives you on the first try. For this, I want a logo for a math unit called Volume Voyage. So I'm starting this unit, and I love making logos for things. And so I can use AI to generate ideas for this logo. And I was so vague, but now it has these 4 different ways for me to think about or to consider. And, not very many of them are great, but I did land on one. I love that one. That one is so cool. I wouldn't have thought of a ship flowing through geometric shapes, a geometric sea. So that's flexibility. Now, the opposite kind of a flexibility, being vague, is to be super elaborate, include the important details so that you have exactly what you have in mind. You've communicated it to the AI. And for that, I have a PDF that you can get from my website, just AI image prompting elaboration ideas, that takes you through and has some ideas for how you might specify the medium, the style, the perspective, the color, the lighting, the subject. Like all of these can make a difference in how detailed your image gets or how it matches what you have in mind. The pose of people, like facial expressions, what's in the background, what time period does this represent, or is it taken in? What does the text look like if you have text, and what's the overall mood? So this, I actually pull this out myself when I want to be sure that I have ways to elaborate on my image. So that's a little bit about creative image prompting and how you can use divergent thinking and the skills of fluency, originality, flexibility for elaboration. And then when you can do that, you can make things like images that match letter sounds. There's a lot of K's in that picture. You can make pictures of characters from your storybooks. I've always wondered what we're excusing my dear Aunt Sally from. So there's a picture of her. So there are lots of ideas. And I hope as in the chat, as I wrap up here, what ideas, now that we have this ability to generate images, what can we do with that great ability? So please share your ideas in the chat. I'm in there. I want to see how you've used or how you're thinking of using images in your practice. So
Tony,
thank you so much. Hey, Dan.
Thank you, Tony. Thanks so much. And by the way, you had me at the Abraham Lincoln comment. I literally spat my drink out.
Abraham Lincoln. Yep.
That was genius. It was good. Love it. Absolutely love it. Thanks so much for joining us. And like Tony said, he's going to be in the chat. So if you've got any questions, any comments, if you want Tony to share his links and everything, please do get it in the chat. Tony, thanks so much. Have a great day.
My pleasure. You too.
Take care. Okay, we're gonna keep going. We've got two more people who are joining us today. Our first person is Piyush. Piyush, I'm just gonna bring you straight in because I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Is it Piyush?
It's Piyush Kumar.
Piyush. Sorry, Piyush. It's great to have you here, and I'm really excited for this because I've been following Vega AI for a while now, and just that ability. I think sometimes teachers see those tools like Duolingo and think, "Oh, I wish I could like give that to my students," but it's what I teach, not languages. And I think Vega AI really opens the door to give that capability to our educators. So I'm just going to hand straight over to you, and looking forward to your presentation. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Dan, for the opportunity. So hi everyone, I'm Piyush, co-founder of Vega AI, and as you see, let me go towards the presentation. So we started building Vega AI with one sole purpose of quantifying learning and making learning data-driven, as well as teaching data-driven, right? So we started to understand and analyze that there are few problems on the educator admin side and few problems on the student side that needs to be solved. So when you talk about educator side, when teachers, let me move to the next slide. When the teacher basically spent a lot of time in creating content, as well as it's not just content, maybe you create a digital content in the form of PDF, but you cannot track data and insights from there. Like in this day and age where we quantify our health steps, our daily walk steps using our smartwatches, we use insights from say finance market to invest in shares in real time. But in real time, we are not able to track what our student is doing, how much time they are spending, what's their accuracy, whether they have studied or not at the very first place, practiced or not at the very first place, right? And my background also goes for a decade teaching. Last decade, I used to be a teacher. So maybe you all can agree with me or disagree. How much effort we put as a teacher, until a student doesn't practice, you cannot expect an outcome, desired outcome, right? So practice is the key. So we started building a platform which enables an educator or a school to build any courses. When I say any courses, right from building a taxonomy to creating quizzes over there, or learning materials, or even video spaces where you can interact and learn, becomes very easy. A modern way to build things in a day, in minutes, using Vega AI, right? And once the student takes any action, the insight is populated on your dashboard so that you can take data driven decisions. And at the same time, students who are self motivated, they can use your AI avatar to get your doubts cleared, etc., right? And as I mentioned in starting, like, our mission is to quantify and personalize learning, thus making teaching and learning truly data driven. When we say we are truly making learning and teaching data driven, we are covering entire spectrum of teaching and learning. Hence, we call ourselves as a full stack AI powered education platform. We allow you to build any data driven courses which you can track and analyze. On a click of button, you can deploy it to the student portal. Once it is deployed on your student portal, they can take actions on it, they can practice on it, and whatever they do, we capture insights that is shown to you as well as students. And thus you take action, and based on those actions, our AI engine personalizes the learning experience. And not just AI only personalizes, even human teachers, we can personalize our next class actions. Suppose you get an insight that, okay, out of this 10 students, frequency of error on a particular topic, say in linear algebra, it's quite high. So you can go in the next session for that particular topic. Okay. Let me go to the first spectrum, or the first pillar of Vega AI, build. You can create modern courses in minutes. Like, course taxonomy is decided right in the starting on a click of button that helps you to capture structured insights. You can generate auto tagged content in seconds. When I say in seconds, you don't even have to worry about LaTeX coding, special symbols. You just upload it, our system handles everything, classify things, and make it ready to use in a test. And you can generate also practice tests and resources instantly. Once things are built, you want your students to take it, right? You can click on a click of button, you can deploy it on your student portal, where they can see the courses that you have deployed, the test assigned to them. And once they take action, you capture insights. And also we provide gray labeled student portal for schools and educators. Once it is deployed, they take actions. Once they take actions, we capture insight, as I mentioned earlier as well, like frequency of error analysis, time management analysis. Okay, we allow also automatic grading of different question types, be it MCQ, short answer, long answer, passages, and in fact, listening and speaking. Suppose you want to create a course on Spanish speaking or English speaking courses, or for IELTS, TOEFL, our system can listen to what they are speaking, grade them, and that too in your own rubric, the rules that you set. And not just grade, they also give they also get immediate feedback. And once the AI system, the AI infrastructure understands where a kid is missing, or what are the strengths and weaknesses, it makes them a personalized learning path. Okay, so we allow every educator to create their own AI avatar, which is there for students 24/7 to support them, and not just create. We allow you to train your own AI avatar in your own domain of area of expertise, and not just you can train it, because once you train yourself, you need to take any exam to say where you stand. Similarly, you can evaluate your own avatar compared to ChatGPTs or Perplexities of the world, so that you can see in your domain how your avatar is performing better than any top model LLMs in the world. Okay. And as the last point mentioned, personalized practice path tailored to each student, updated every week. Because learning is not linear. You do actions, you improve. So the system keeps on adapting based on the students' progress, how they are progressing, and it gives an adaptive next actions. When I say why Vega AI stands out compared to any top LLMs stop just at creating resources. Like, suppose if you want 10 questions from a topic, it can create. But to get into a system is a lot of manual work. Forget like about copying a spatial characters or equation. It takes a lot of time. And again, you cannot track a lot of data. So we handle right from creating learning resources or content. You can build structured courses, not just build, and you can just deploy it, give it to your students, and they can take actions based on the learning data. Also, we have worked with a lot of schools, test prep companies, so which has helped them grow their revenue as well using our free lead generation tool, using our insights, their conversion rates improved. A lot of schools and test prep companies have launched multiple courses, right from digital SAT to ACT to TMUA to all the AP courses within weeks and months. I would love to show you guys a demo video, what our product can actually do. As you can see, the first step, building courses. You just have to put the course name and our system will start giving you the taxonomy for it. If you have any suggestions, you can prompt again. Then again, you can edit from here, which shows you the tree structure of the taxonomy. Once you are finalized, mark and you can start creating your question bank. For example, if you want to create a question bank with handwritten notes, just upload it, click on the question type and extract it. See what our system does in seconds. It has handled all the LaTeX coding at the back. Okay, not just this, it has classified what are the concepts checked in this question, right from differential calculus to chain rule, so that in long run we can build a knowledge graph. Next thing, if you want to create an entire assignment or a quiz, simply you have to prompt it, or you can upload your PDF that just make a digital quiz on this, okay, where you can capture all the insights, right from time management to accuracy and mastery. As you can see, you can preview this, and once it is previewed and saved, you can deploy it or publish it to your student portal. Once you click on deploy, boom, you can directly go to your student portal as well. Okay, on the admin side, you can capture frequency of error analysis on different topics, where they are spending more time. There is no point of just accuracy if you're taking more than the average time. So we show you all the vital analytics and insights of a single student to a group of students, so that you can save your time as well. And this is how the student portal looks. Kids can go and take a full-length test or a quiz or resources. If you have any lesson plan, works card, or flashcards as well, you can create. Okay, and once a student starts taking a test, this is how the portal UI looks. So we capture all the insights, like how much time spent on the screen per question. And once they click on submit, our system generates the report and analysis immediately. The AI also generates a feedback, which area they are doing good or where they need attention. Okay. And as you scroll down, you can review the test with AI avatar. It can be your AI avatar, and kids can ask question like, hey, where did I go wrong? Or can you explain the solution better? And once you understood where you went wrong, okay, you can ask for a similar question to practice again to check whether now you have understood the concept or not. Okay. So this is how the entire portal looks like. There's more to it. You can build your own AI agents.
Yeah, I think that was a great overview, and I think a lot of our people who are watching are going to want to go away and try that. Thanks so much for showing us that, and do go have a look at it, because when you say full stack, you literally mean that as well. In what educators can do then in terms of bringing their courses to life. Go check them out, myvega.ai. Thanks for joining us and sharing MyVega with us.
Yep. Thank you, Don, for the opportunity, and look forward to speaking to you guys. You can book a demo with us, or you can mail me directly. Would love to present you the product one-on-one as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Take care. Okay, we're moving into our last session of today. Laura Knight is going to be joining us in just a second, and she's going to bring all of this together, I think. I got the privilege of seeing Laura present just a week ago, actually, and I think her presentation will help to cap off today and a lot of the ideas we've had and a lot of the different views we've had as well. So let's bring Laura in. Laura, fantastic to see you.
Hey, lovely to see you, Dan. Thank you for having me.
No, it's an honor for us to have you and for you to share some of your time with us. I'm going to hand straight over to you. I know we're about 5 minutes over, so please feel free to grab that extra 5 minutes back for yourself.
No worries.
And yeah, I'll hand straight
Lovely.
over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So welcome everyone to this final session of the day, and it's lovely to be with you all. I hope you've had a cracking time with the amazing speakers that you've had today. And I do hope that I'm able to bring some thoughts and reflections which are going to be reflective, a little philosophical, and maybe even on occasion challenging in the mix. And I'm going to be talking about discernment, sovereignty, and AI in education, thinking about wisdom. We do a lot of talking about learning and technology, and I would like to elevate that a little for us this afternoon. So let me introduce myself a little to you. So my name is Laura Knight. I'm a former teacher of 20 years, and I now run a consultancy called Sapio. I'm really interested in doing technology well in education and supporting schools, trusts, publishers, edtech companies, governments, and leadership associations and training bodies with how we can approach technology from a pro-human perspective and really think about everything from policy to deployment to CPD with very much the teacher, the student, and the learning in mind. I work with some really interesting and cool organizations. I'm really fortunate to be able to share a taste of that here. So I hope that you can get a sense of the breadth of the kinds of conversations I've been having in this space, and therefore the perspective that I'm giving, which I hope will be elevating us just above the nuts and bolts into something a little bit more, I'm hoping evolved. Let's see if we can do evolved. So I'd like to start with a gentle provocation. Which is around how reassuringly consistent human beings are. In this age of change, there is something very reassuring about how we as creatures respond to innovation. And there is no doubt that there is a discomfort and an excitement, and sometimes in equal measures and sometimes not. And I would also like for us to just notice how often a certain sort of challenge comes around in these conversations. And I know that this can make folks feel a little uncomfortable, but I want to challenge what I call whataboutery. So in many rooms that I am in where we're talking about AI in education, there is a sort of point scoring exercise which sometimes happens where folks are saying, what about this and what about that? And often those points are very valid. However, I'll take, for example, some of the environmental questions that I'm sure have been raised today, and rightly so. It's often the case that people are looking to take up space in arguments which don't actually necessarily add depth to the question. And so whether it's environmental questions around water or ethical questions around where labor is being hired from, and immigration policies, these things can be really significant. But I do want us to notice how important it is that we dig deep on those challenges and really think about our ethical approach to the whole of technology. If we're talking about our AI strategy in the context of environment and water use, have we actually talked about cloud computing ever around water in our organizations, or is this the first time? Because if it is the first time, I would suggest that maybe we want to start thinking a little bigger. So my first question then is, how do we get uncomfortable with, or how do we get comfortable with the discomfort, and how do we get past that discomfort in a way that is really useful? Because unfortunately, I'm seeing a lot of kind of almost tribal silos in organizations, and I don't think it's helpful. So that was my first little provocation. My second is that there is something important here around how we use digital and how we have almost been trained to soothe ourselves of the daily discomfort of life using technology. And I'll tell you why this is important. If you have been in the smartphone world for 10 plus years, as let's say a teenager or older, and every time you are bored, you can scroll. Every time you're lonely, you can message or video call. Every time you are excited about something, you can celebrate with friends online. And every time you have any sort of discomfort in your emotional state, you can soothe it with your digital experience. And I want us to notice that we are creating a sort of dissonance here with the way that we approach learning. Because the paradox is that we need discomfort to happen in order for learning to take place, right? Learning is inherently uncomfortable. And so therefore, if we are saying to students, yes, in every other aspect of your life, whenever you're uncomfortable, you are going to no doubt be reaching for a digital device and some kind of support that comes from technology. But in this case, in learning, in school, you can't. And what's more, if you do, might well be accused of cheating, those kinds of things. It's creating a set of quite difficult issues. So I think we need to notice it in ourselves as adults, and also notice it in how we model, therefore, to young people, and really recognize that we are going to have to talk openly about the discomfort and the struggle of learning in order to honor that and make sure that we get AI in the right place in that conversation. And so when we're thinking about those decisions and the choices that we make around technology, I'd argue that there is a case for thinking beyond the transactions of those everyday moments, whether it's hunting for a chocolate cake recipe or whether it's redefining your entire strategy or policy on something, and the extent to which we maintain or give away our sovereignty in those everyday choices. And that could be about what tool we choose. It could be about the extent to which we share or don't share our data. It could be about the extent to which we engage with the terms and conditions, or whether we don't give a monkeys. We need to think about those moments when we are giving our sovereignty away and what we can do about that. And when we are, again, modeling that or representing other people in those choices. Never has it been more important for us to think twice about our data. And so when we're in an education capacity, we have to think even more carefully about our data, because we are not only representing ourselves, but also the young people that we work with. So this question around sovereignty and decision-making, especially when it's uncomfortable to take the time to do so, that's exactly when we should be digging deeper. When we're in a hurry, when we're stressed because we don't know the answer, when we're under pressure. Those are the times when we just want to click yes to everything and get to the thing that's the easiest. And those are the times when we need to care the most. The next thing I'd argue is that that sits within a wider context of behavioral choices, which stem from the work we have to do as individuals in schools with our students and as in our own right, when we think about our moral compass. The choices that we make when we think about integrity, let's say assessment, because it's on the top of everybody's mind, right? When we think about the choices that we make when everybody's looking and the choices that we make when nobody's looking, it's really easy to unpack some of those questions around integrity. And it certainly was, I'm in my mid-40s, when I was at school, cheating looked a certain way. You had to literally copy off somebody else or have someone else do your work, that kind of thing. But now the edges are so blurred around integrity that there isn't a simple right and wrong. And often there are all kinds of shades of fairly kind of muddy grayness in between that right and that wrong. And so in order to deal with that, we cannot micromanage every single decision that everyone in our institutions makes. And if there's anyone in leadership who's sitting there thinking, well, I'm just going to have to put enough rules in place and block and ban stuff until I can control all of the choices, I'm afraid that is horribly misguided. And please let me relieve you of that responsibility right now. You cannot make all of the choices for everybody. What you can do instead is really think about how we ingrain a really strong moral compass around digital and AI behaviors in our students, our staff, our teachers, and everyone we work with, so that we can think about how we engage and participate in online life and in AI in an ethical way. Now, what that then means is that we're going to need to think about autonomy. We're going to need to think about autonomy and how much freedom we give to different folks. Now, the freedom that we give to an 8-year-old should look radically different to the freedom that we give to an 18-year-old. And in between, there is going to have to be an appropriately graduated way to address their needs. But if anyone is thinking, well, we just can't talk about AI until they hit 13, I'm afraid that's not going to cut it either. In the same way that when we think about sex and relationships education, for example, we can't suddenly blast young people with information at whatever the age of consent in your country might be. We're going to need to set them up with a grounded sort of foundation of understanding about how life works, because they are exposed to content, they are exploring for themselves. So let's think about what age-appropriate autonomy looks like, and let's think about how we can stack some of those core competencies and understandings from a young age. There is a really great conversation to have here about early digital literacy, early AI literacy, and conceptual understanding. And remember, please, how important it is that we don't get bogged down in magical thinking. It's very tempting for us as humans to be thinking, okay, well, when we don't understand something, we tend to ascribe magical qualities to it. And unfortunately, when we're dealing with younger children, for example, I often say, we've got kids in classrooms learning digital literacy skills at the same time that they believe in Father Christmas and the Tooth Fairy. Now, this is highly problematic if we're ascribing AI magical properties when those young people might believe in those magical things. So let's be really careful about how we use language and how we create that autonomy with a reasoned judgment. Now, my view is that if we are really thinking about young people succeeding, we need to help them understand the power of asking the right questions. Having all of the answers isn't golden in the same way as it might have been in the past. And what we need to focus on instead is curiosity. And that also applies to us as educators. And instead of thinking, what do the jazz hands tools do and how can we shoehorn that into our school life and our curriculum? Instead, I'd suggest we start with some really pragmatic approaches. So what are the standards that we want to raise? That's a really great question for us to be curious about as educators. What are the problems that we need to solve? And what are the opportunities that we want to create? Now, of course, in the mix, we cannot just be blindly and naively positive about all of this. We have to understand that there are going to be challenges, and AI is no different. We have to balance the need to be both pro-tech and pro-boundaries, keeping everybody safe while encouraging the strong use of technology. We have to also be measured while we are also agile. So we take things slowly. We make sure we check the evidence. We are not just leaping in with 2 feet without any caution. And then we also need to balance freedom and structure. We want to make sure that we can give teachers the freedom and creativity to use their professional knowledge and skill, while also providing the structure that they need in order to make sure that students have a high standards experience. All of this requires care and thinking in a space which is uncertain and changing fast. Now, there is a whole world of resistance around technology right now for young people. The phone-free childhood movement is gaining in volume and popularity. And I think there are some interesting questions for us to ask around, are we preparing the road for the child and creating and curating an environment for them, or are we preparing the child for the road? And I would argue that we should be thinking about the second one, especially for our most vulnerable youngsters, especially because they cannot have snowplows in front of them every day of their lives and careers after they leave us. And so being able to build that resilience, that questioning, that curiosity, and that autonomy is key. Now, as part of that story, we're going to need to think differently about assessment, and I know that this has been discussed a lot, so I'm not going to go into lots of detail, but I do think we need a reboot here, and we need to think specifically about one aspect, and that is this. Are we going to be thinking about process, or are we going to be thinking about outcome? And I'd argue there is a whole world of opportunity to look at capture of iteration and journey that should be much richer than just exploring the final piece, the final essay, the final outcome. And there's no doubt too that as part of that question, we then need to explore, what does it actually mean to do the work? Because if it just looks busy but doesn't involve engaging thoughtfully, meaningfully with the content, are we actually working? This is one of the things I explore in my book. You're very welcome to go check it out. I would love your thoughts on it. And of course, as we go through this process of reflection and exploration, we are going to come across things that perhaps no longer serve us. Old myths, poor proxies, things that look like success, things that perhaps at one point were celebrated because of their neatness and their tidiness and their passive compliance. Things like underlining the title and the date, or repetition without understanding, covering the topic without any question or intellectual engagement. The intellectual offloading and the copy and paste and the tick and flick, these are things that have had their time. Let's notice them. Let's challenge them. Let's move forwards together. Instead, let's think about wisdom and how we can make sure that in our practice, we are really working hard to protect some of these things in order to ensure that in society, and I do believe that we have a societal role to play here, we are really protecting the future of democracy, justice and the rule of law, the sanctity of human relationships and intimacy, the importance of selfhood, and really reflecting on what it means to have agency and dignity as a human. If we ban things, that abdicates responsibility. If we blindly adopt things, that abdicates discernment. And I have no doubt that you might think there are things to add there as well. My cat is deciding that now is the moment to be a diva. Apologies. So I think that there is a framework. I'd like to propose a framework for discernment. And I have given this some thought, and I would like us to reflect on it in this way. If we start with three core things: capability, conscience, and courage, they're a really strong way to approach this idea of discernment and wisdom. And I've, again, written a little paper about it. If you'd like to check it out, it's free. You can go have a little look. And this very much thinks about this idea of capability, conscience, and courage as a way of approaching learning across the whole curriculum. This isn't the job of the computer scientists, friends. But equally, there is also an important part of this that is about safeguarding. We are going to have to move beyond block it and ban it and hope it goes away as an approach to keeping young people safe. And equally, if again, for those of us who are members of the Chartered College in the UK, you can go access a quite provocative paper that I've written called Safeguarding Rewired, talking about evolving those risks. And do have a look. Let me know what you think. It's going to be embargoed until October, and then it'll be freely available on my website. But I like to consider how important it is that we think beyond the blocking and the banning into something much more real. Okay, that is me done. It's 5:31, something of a gallop, friends. So thank you for staying with me. Do keep in touch, and I hope that that has been interesting and useful to you. Dan, we did it.
Laura, no, that was brilliant.
We like a gallop at the end of the session, don't we?
Now I know you can do that in 15 minutes. I'm like, every time I see you present, I'm going to be like,
oh, knock another 3 off. You're like, we'll have it done in 3 next time.
No, that was brilliant. Thanks for that. And as you can probably see from the chat, and if you haven't been able to read it,
I haven't been following, but I hope that people have. My cat has been. Yeah, my cat is very excited to be part of this call. She's a diva.
Please do jump in, because I think you've been striking a lot of chords with people, and it sounds like it's what a lot of people needed to hear, wanted to hear. So thanks so much for doing that. Good. Please do check out Laura's book as well, Generative AI in the Classroom. It's a great read and available on Amazon and other places.
Waterstones and all the places.
Yeah, everywhere. And I'll sell you my copy if no, I'm joking.
I haven't even written anything rude in it, Dan. So yeah, probably a good idea.
I'm teasing Laura because I was speaking at an event the other day and she heckled me from the front row.
It was a good heckle, to be fair.
No,
well, I did it once, and then it created quite a few fun ripples, and then we just kept riffing on it. So this is the problem, isn't it? When you have two people who know things in one space, you end up with all of this good fizzy chemistry of it's good stuff.
No, it was great. Laura, thanks for spending your time with us. We really appreciate it.
Pleasure, Dan. Thank you.
Please do check out Laura's work and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you. Take care, folks.
Take care. Right, we've come to the end of day three, and I forgot what day it was there. So we are, let me just pull these up. We are coming towards the end of day 3. We've only got one more day left, not tomorrow, but Friday. Seems weird that we're just stopping on Thursday, but we had planned Thursday. But some things have come up in essentially personal things in my life that I need to attend to. So we've moved things around a little bit. So all the presenters who were Thursday have been spread around and you've been hearing from them anyway. But we'll be back on Friday. Please do check out the book. Many of our speakers today are featured in the book, The Educators 2026 AI Guide, and you can get that by going to theeducatorsAIguide.com. I just want to say a big thanks to all of our sponsors from today: Brisk Teaching Everywhere, Grammarly, MagicSchool, Quizgecko, School AI, ThingLink, Toddle, Google for Education, ScreenPal, Zaka, Seeds by Zaka, Snorkel, 9, and Vega AI, making this possible to bring this to you for free. So big, huge thank you for their support. And that was Wednesday. My goodness, the interview with Stephen Johnson feels like it was a long time ago now. So if you've been with us for the 3.5 hours, thank you for sticking with us. Hopefully it's been great content. We're going to be back on Friday with a great friend of mine, great guy, probably no stranger to you, Matt Miller, who I just read on social is writing a new book at the minute, which I'm really excited about. Matt Miller will be kicking things off with us with a keynote called AI Literacy in Any Classroom, in My Classroom. Excited for that. Then we've got Lana Penley, who writes and has penned a great book on SEL, social and emotional learning, and former principal. Then we've got another good friend of mine. I promise I didn't just pick my friends to speak at this event. It's just that it's a close community of educators who do this kind of thing. We've got Louise. She used to work for Google and now does amazing things with a tool called ThingLink, which enables immersive learning. We've got Jeremy Rostand. Jeremy wrote an amazing case study on his school in the book. He's going to be sharing that with us. We got Matt Fletcher from Toddle. Toddle are kind of taking over the world at the minute. They're doing some amazing things with their platform. He's going to share with us some of the new AI tools in there. Then we've got Al Kingsley, the one and only Al Kingsley. I'm sure will not be a stranger to you. Going to be talking about digital strategy. And then we end the day with School AI, a popular tool out there that many people are using. We're going to hear from Tara and look at some of the updates that they've unleashed for this new academic year, which I think you're going to like. So that is Friday. And please do, if you haven't registered, please can you register for us? That way you can be in with a chance to win this book. And you will get updates and resources emailed to you as well. And that is the end of my slides. Thank you, everyone. We have had an issue with accessing the list of registered attendees, so I can't announce who's won the book. But on Friday, I will announce both winners from today and from Friday. So there's a chance to win the book twice on Friday because we haven't been able to access it. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been great to be with you. If you have been with us for Monday, Tuesday, and all of today, wow. And I know a lot of you can't because it's just difficult with teaching and so on. But please do, if you're catching up on YouTube on Catch Up, thank you for doing that. And it looks like by some of the numbers we're seeing that a lot of people are doing that as well. Enjoy the rest of your day, whether it's afternoon, whether it's morning, whether it's evening, wherever you are. It is 5:37 in the evening here. I'm going to carry on packing my house because, as I shared yesterday, we're moving. That's why everything looks empty. And going to go spend some time with my 2 5-year-olds. So whatever you're doing, enjoy it. And we will see you on Friday, same time, 2 o'clock British time, 9 o'clock in the morning, Eastern American time. Take care, everybody, and I will see you in 48 hours.